It's like I'm, thinking of those little things we're going to talk about. It's like, I had no idea this was going to end up here. It's like, oh my God, we're talking about smashing Sergio's head.
Yeah, and eating him.
Eating him.
I guess my next question is, what part do you eat of Sergio's first?
Dead silence.
I mean, for sure, cheeks, right? Yeah, we'll put that all on Sergio for sure.
Definitely. Man, he's the guy that's not here, so he gets blamed for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get this bitch going.
Let's do it.
All right, hey guys, this is Wade and Dry. I'm Joshua Lawyer.
And I'm Leon Lushore.
And today we have Bryce.
We'll edit that out.
Brett Amory's with us here today.
Everybody calls me Bruce.
All right, should we retry that?
Let's do
all
it.
Right.
Oh, and I was gonna say, Bryce Liston is fine, but if you want to say Bryce Cameron Liston, that's totally fine. I mean,
Bryce,
that's just my middle name.
Cameron.
Cameron.
Okay.
So the problem with Bryce Liston is they run together. Bryce Liston.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll throw Cameron in there.
Okay.
It breaks it up, but that's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure.
Bryce.
Yeah. All right. Hey guys, this is Wade and Dry. I'm Joshua Lawyer.
And I'm Leon Lushore.
And today we have Bryce Cameron Liston.
Hey guys.
What's up, man?
Hey.
And no Sergio today, if you guys didn't figure it out.
Yes.
But I was thinking I should do an awkward intro like Sergio usually does when he does his. So can I just do that real quick?
Yeah.
The podcast where your favorite artist get drunk and talk stuff. I'm just kidding.
You don't sound like that, Sergio.
No.
So sorry you're not here, Sergio.
I know.
Man, I've been like knowing you for almost ever. I finally make it over here to Santa Rosa. Fuck, you're not here, man. We go off to like Oregon, like painting or something.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
Man, suck it, Sergio.
Yeah, probably doing ayahuasca or something.
Yeah.
One of those weird orgies he was a part of.
Sergio and his orgies.
Yeah. Also, side note, we have construction going on right next to my house right now, and they're in like full speed ahead. So if you guys hear chainsaws and people screaming, we're not murdering anyone. This is just construction. Wink, wink.
Yeah, life. Everybody knows construction.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's the worst luck.
Perfect timing.
But yeah, thanks Leon again for being my co-host.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's the second time, right? Co-hosting.
Yeah. Second shot at it.
And your episode was, you said episode 6.
Episode 6 is my interview. Yep. So. Yeah.
Check that out. So, Bryce, you're here on vacation, right? You're in this area.
Yeah, we drove in. I live in Salt Lake, so we drove in yesterday and arrived last night. We're staying in Novato, so not too far from here.
So, how does it feel to buy booze, just like
at the grocery store?
Yeah, wherever you want.
Well, actually, that's funny you brought that up because I thought this would be kind of a funny lead-in. So. On the way up here, I told my wife, I said, hey, let's stop in real quick and I'll get a 6-pack of beer. So we pulled in a Safeway and grabbed a 6-pack and at the checkout, and she's like, it's like $15. And it's like, oh, fuck, God, beer's expensive here. $15 for a 6-pack? I wasn't really thinking. I just paid her.
Damn, that is expensive.
I know, but I walked out of the car, and I get in, we start heading out here, and I'm telling my wife that story, and she says, what? That's God, no, that's too expensive. So I looked at the receipt. It's like, okay, no, it was $9.99, but so they charged me for a cantaloupe. It's like, and not only a cantaloupe, it's a Tuscan cantaloupe for $4.
What's a Tuscan cantaloupe?
I have no fucking clue.
That's not a thing.
It's something from Tuscany apparently, and it costs $4. So
that's
it's like,
you
got screwed,
man.
Yeah,
they got you on the cantaloupe trick.
That's what you guys.
It's all the out-of-towners.
Yeah. How'd the cashier look?
Oh, she was a little shifty.
Oh, it sounds like it for sure.
So I was like, man, I'm gonna go back there after this. Like, I want my $4 back, man. I didn't buy no damn cantaloupe from you.
Yeah, that cantaloupe came all the way from Italy, man. That's why it was so expensive.
Or else I want that damn cantaloupe. I'm gonna go home and eat it.
There you go.
So. The cantaloupe has extra carbs in it. Nice. So Utah.
Utah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so, actually, I don't really announce it that often. Actually, it's like kind of like, it's a little bit like you guys here. in Santa Rosa, just a little
Right.
bit on the outskirts. It's like
Yeah, for
Utah,
sure.
It's just it's just kind of a little different
Yeah.
venue, I guess.
Yeah, people have a lot of ideas about
They
Utah.
do.
Yeah,
They do, and
Yeah.
some are true and some are not.
Yeah,
For sure.
But
For
yeah,
sure.
we're not all like super ultra conservative, and
Right.
there's
polygamists
we're
and
not
so
polygamists,
on.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. You're not all white, I'm assuming. I mean, you're not
Well,
you're not a
but yeah, I'm pretty damn.
you're stereotypical
pasty.
Utahnian.
Only 98% of them.
Yeah, there's a few others that aren't,
yeah.
pasty white.
I always want to visit Utah, but then the whole alcohol thing throws me off because
Oh.
I'm like, I hear they have the best state parks. I'm like,
They do.
Oh, they do.
It's
And
gorgeous
then-
there. Yeah.
But then it's like if I'm on vacation, I want to drink some alcohol,
Yeah.
and I don't want to try that hard to do so.
Yeah, though I think we've come a long way since we had the 2002 Olympics there. That's really opened up a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, you go into the grocery store, you can buy beer, but it's lower alcohol content.
Right.
But there are state liquor stores everywhere. You can go there and get anything you want, and in restaurants and stuff, you can order pretty much anything you want. So it's really opened up a lot
That's
that
crazy.
way.
It's always funny. I don't know. This might be a little too political, but whenever anyone talks it, like if you're a conservative state, the idea usually is that you don't want the law to put their to like control whatever you're doing.
Right.
But then when your ideals make it, it's like unless it's not aligned with my
Right,
ideals.
Right,
or-
the alignment's what
We're
matters.
free,
Yeah.
but we can't drink beer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I want small government unless it's
Yeah, that's true.
it's a weird thing. Sorry to get political, but
Yeah, we try to avoid that probably. don't we?
yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, yeah, Utah's it is very, very conservative state, and I live near Salt Lake. It's just a suburb it's a nice town called Holiday. We're kind of nestled up against the mountains, and it's kind of a mix there.
Yeah.
Really, Salt Lake. I mean, the city of Salt Lake actually almost always elects a liberal mayor.
Oh, really?
So there's that. Just kind of like the larger cities tend to be a little bit more left.
I know a
for
lot of
sure.
my people have traveled to the Salt Lakes, the like Islanders.
Oh, really?
There's a crap.
there's a
ton.
ton.
Oh, I
We
didn't
have
know that.
tons of
Oh, okay.
Islanders there. Yeah, huge populations.
Yeah. cool.
and that does have a little bit to do with Mormon and the
Yeah, for
missionaries
sure.
because they send a lot of missionaries to Hawaii, Samoa, and
Yeah.
Tonga.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they have actually a pretty good relationship, I think,
Yeah.
with the islands and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah. There's a ton more. Or Islanders are usually Mormon or Methodist. Those are like the two denominations that
interesting.
that made the trek over there and did
Right.
the whole
ring,
thing.
ring the doorbells first. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
in a way. So, so most Islanders are Mormon or Methodist.
It's interesting.
it's a weird thing.
Methodist, too.
Yeah.
So which are you?
I am what we like to call.
Satanic.
Yeah, I believe in this. What is it? The spaghetti monster or whatever.
What's
It's like it's like some asshole thing atheists say. They say like that there's a floating spaghetti god in the clouds, and that you can't disprove it. So there's like their argument against religion.
Oh, okay. I don't think I think that's new.
And that's less crazy than Scientology.
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. I was trying to segue it back to art, and I'm like, I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
Talking about spaghetti.
This podcast is actually. I mean, I think I've listened to all the episodes. I got a little bit behind because
It
I
happens.
got on a deadline, and we went on another little family vacation. I came back, and I've been trying to catch up, but
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to almost all of them. But it's like each one of them goes off on these weird tangents.
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, but that's kind of fun,
Yeah, that's kind
It's
of what
like-
we want.
You just because it's like you just want like you're sitting there along with the guest and the host, just chatting.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
And you get like little nuggets every once in a while
Totally.
from that. Yeah, And
Absolutely.
you stumble. It's weird because I usually coming up like leading up to the podcast, I'll think like, oh, if we run out of like things to talk about, what should we what direction should we go towards?
Yeah.
But then it's like you can't even control that. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about this. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's
You just let it go.
you just let it go, and then every once in a while, you dig into that back pocket and pull that topic out to save your ass if it gets a little.
Right.
But even then, it's like the dead air when you're in it feels way longer than when you're listening to it. You know?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been listening to it and thght, oh, God, that's a lot of dead air. What's going on there, guys?
Yeah, but some people think we're super awkward.
Well, well, that's okay, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, when Sergio's here, he's talking so damn much, you know, you can't say a word in edgewise.
I know. Every time right after, usually me and the guest look at Sergio and we're like, can we just get a word in? Pass the ball, Kobe.
I'm going to be the official Sergio today, so don't expect much from me, all right?
So how you doing, Leon?
Bryce, what inspires you?
Oh, shit. Oh, God, it's the interview part. I was trying to avoid this.
Nice.
It wasn't real, was
Good
it?
move.
You're just pulling my
Yeah,
leg
no,
out.
that's
Leon, you're a smart
just
ass.
trying to throw a real soft question out there. You know?
Dude, the other day I was looking at, you know, the Instagram thing everyone's been doing where you could ask questions and then...
Yeah, that's gotten really popular, hasn't
Yeah.
it?
Have you seen that?
I don't know about it.
It's like a thing you can do on your story.
Okay.
Where you say, like, ask a question. I haven't even done it yet.
I have seen it.
But then I guess the questions come towards you and then you're able to, like, answer them on your story.
Yeah.
And I saw one of the questions someone asked you was... when did you become a full-time artist? And I think you wrote 35 or something like that.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's cool. Because, I mean, me and MJ are on the pursuit of that, cracking that case, especially here in California where things are, where you pay $15 for a 6-pack and a cantaloupe, you know what I mean? So it's like...
Air cantaloupe.
it's like...
Oh, well, the Tuscan. That's a Tuscan cantaloupe.
I know.
So not just your ordinary run-of-the-mill
Holy shit.
cantaloupe. You know.
Extra organic.
Yeah, it better have been.
So was there like any like key change to what you like to? Were you on the pursuit of cracking that case, or did things just kind of fall into place, you think?
A little bit of both, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, so try not to get off on too much of a long story about my, you know, how I got there. But I had, I mean, I'm first of all, I'm self-taught. You know, so
Cheers.
Yeah, you too. I know.
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
suck it, Sergio.
Suck it, Sergio. Yeah.
School's for losers.
How about you, Leon?
I'm self-taught.
Oh, so
yeah.
yes. Oh,
Hell yeah.
Brothers in arms.
Yeah, there we
man.
go.
Exactly.
All right.
Fighting the system, one
Yeah.
brush stroke at a time.
Yeah, take that, man.
So yeah, I went to, you know, we're just see if I can just put it in a real quick nutshell. Went to the University of Utah, thinking, because that, you know, that was the closest kind of school,
Right.
just, you know, the university there to learn art, and got there. I think I was there a year and a half, and realized at that point, I mean, I went there to learn the craft. You know, I wanted to learn how to draw and paint. That's what I was going there for. But it was just too conceptual, too modern, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. So
That's
I dropped.
crazy. You would think Utah especially would be one of
Well,
the states that might...
Overcompensating.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that. I mean, there's a real dichotomy there of different groups of people, but there at the university was actually pretty modern. They just really wanted to push the envelope. I think they wanted to be like New York,
Right.
just really edgy, and
Right.
and you know, the other option was BYU, which, you know, I'm not affiliated with. I wouldn't want to go there. It wasn't that, and I was
I'm
closer
not
to
familiar with BYU. Why is that?
Brigham Young University.
Oh.
So yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
I
a
am
private
familiar with
school owned by the Mormon Church, and it's a, you know, pretty prestigious school. And,
Right,
and actually they've got a pretty dang good art school, an illustration school, and so it's more traditional, a little more traditional than the University of Utah was. So
Right.
you know, I mean, choosing those two, I would have gone if, you know,
Yeah,
if I hadn't
if
been
you
a
could do
private
it again.
school, you know,
Yeah.
that would have been maybe better choice,
see.
but.
But you needed beer and drugs, probably.
Yeah, basically. So,
So how long were you at that first school you went to?
so at the University of Utah, I think it was a year and a half. I
Okay.
dropped out. So I made it through they called it their foundation program.
So
and,
what kind of courses did you take in that?
you know, there was a couple good. We had, I think that was the one class I really liked was figure structure.
Okay.
And that was one class I learned something. It's like, you know,
Right.
we had the model, We had the charcoal, we had the paper,
Right.
and God, I wish I still had some of those drawings. At one point, I looked back at those and I thought, oh God, those are horrible.
Right.
So I got rid of them.
Yeah.
But then I kind of wish I still had them so I could look at them. That was a stupid choice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I learned something in that class. But we had beginning painting and beginning drawing and printmaking and a few things like that.
So so you lied to us.
Well,
You're partially schooled.
I'm a two-faced.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I don't feel like I learned much there.
Right.
Though. I just it felt more like high school than I thought college should have been. Sucking up to the professor. If you're doing what the professor did, you got the A.
I see.
The second year I was so disillusioned. I went to painting. I did some sculpture and changed my direction. And then those weren't working out, so I thought, well, I'll try photography. So that's the second.
Wow.
The second year was really more photography.
That's cool.
So yeah, sort of. That professor turned out to be the biggest. He was a
best friend, biggest
I didn't-
good person,
Yeah, opposite.
talented genius.
Yeah, we'll leave it at there. So yeah, when
I'm super good at guessing.
That's
ran
good.
across
Right on.
him. Yeah, you're good. You're good, Josh.
I try.
That was just that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was like I was out of there.
But
But
because you were jealous of his talent.
his talent. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was talented.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Do
Well, he got the chicks. I have to admit.
photographers?
I
they
think you're
slay.
right.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
really-
Like
they-
little baby chickens, or
Yeah.
so you had like a farm.
We
going,
do
too.
things different
That's
in
cool.
Utah.
That's cool. I don't think they're that expensive to purchase little baby chickens.
Well, you do cantaloupe and beer. We do chickens and chickens.
That makes sense.
But
Yeah, MJ had she went to JC for like art for a little bit, and she has this teacher she still doesn't like to this day, and it's based off of the fact that he tried to make her paint what he painted.
He wanted, in his style. And
In every single way, and it's weird because his artwork is very this cluster of classic cartooniness, and it's in this way of trying to be political, I guess, and
I think I remember her talking about that in one of the episodes.
and it's weird because a lot of people in Santa Rosa have kind of adopted his aesthetic and style,
Right,
and it's like I wonder how many people went into his class thinking like I want to do this art, and then came out doing his shit.
Yep.
It's like that's not
That's
correct.
Yeah.
That's a weird.
Yeah, actually, I think was it just your last episode or the one before? I just
Yeah,
seemed like
where
she was
like
just
the
talking
guest.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seemed like she had mentioned that previously in that
Yeah.
episode.
She had a
too, so-
shitty teacher.
Yeah,
She hates now.
That does, that works, or that happens. That happens to all of us, I suppose. Even maybe in a good school, you've got the good professors and the not so good professors.
Yeah.
Or you don't get along with one, you get along with the other. It's maybe just personalities sometimes.
Yeah.
But it sounded like she had a pretty bad experience.
I think a good teacher should facilitate the student's individuality. I mean, it seems almost opposite to what art is about, to try and produce knockoffs or clones of yourself. You know, I mean,
I think teaching structure, like technique is one thing, but teaching you should be political, you should do it like this is a weird thing. I appreciate if a teacher is going to teach you like this is how you paint, realistically, anything technique driven,
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah. But then when it comes to like concepts in that thing, you maybe, I don't know how you would do it, but teach them how to think in that, or your process in thinking about what you want to paint. But
yeah, that's smart.
To say like, it's just, I don't know. It's like saying like paint what makes, I always tell MJ that like, just tell the story, figure out how to tell stories good.
Right.
And then
in your own way,
adapt that to your art.
Yeah.
It's
Facilitate the process for the student. Well, Bryce, you teach, right? I mean, you probably have plenty of thoughts on this.
Yeah, I teach more workshops. Is what I've been doing. Although, I mean, that was part of, I had a few notes down here. It's like, God, what if we have some dead air space? I got to have some things to talk about. So, yeah, I mean, that's part of my story. Years later, I got an offer to teach at a local college.
Okay.
As an adjunct professor, kind of a fill-in. And, I went into that really unknown what was going to happen, but it's like the 16-week course I had to teach these beginning painting students, and I had to come up with a curriculum, and that was part of my being self-taught, I've always kind of said it's like learning out of order.
Right.
You're presented with all this information. When you go to school, the one good thing I think about school is you're given the information in order. It's like stepping stones.
Right.
But when you're out there on your own, you don't know what order to grab things in, and it's all coming at you,
right.
Everywhere. You're just bombarded by all of it, and a lot of it you can't take in. You're not ready for that information, and that's the way I felt, after dropping out, and well, maybe get back to what I did after I dropped out for a while, because that led back into this
How
story.
You became self-sufficient.
Yeah, exactly. But and then this was, the college again. This was only 2013, 2014. I was teaching. So when I was forced to have to teach 16 weeks, stepping stones, these kids, I had, and I had to write this curriculum out, and I had to figure it out myself, and then begin to teach it. And man, that all began to fall into place for me. That all of a sudden started making sense. All these things that were just in my head, just floating around, did begin to make order of all of them.
You learned by teaching, basically.
I learned by teaching.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And I'd been teaching workshops before and after. And, I don't want, like if you took a workshop from me before I did that, I don't want to think like I gave you I didn't give you a good
Ask
workshop.
for your money back.
Yeah, you guys, go to that school, get your money back. It's like that guy did not know what he was doing.
For sure.
No, workshops are like you have a model, and you just paint, you do your thing. So but I did restructure my workshops a little after that, I have to admit, and it wasn't drastic because. I think as all artists, it doesn't matter if you're self-taught or you went to school. We have the art elements we deal with. You got shape and you got value and color. And so we all teach those. It's all still there. But I think after that, I did take that stuff. I taught those students because it made a lot of sense to me. It's like, well, now I know I can give these workshop students this lesson, and then this lesson. The next day, we'll give them this lesson. So I tried to, use that condensed down into these workshops.
Right.
So I think that's actually worked really good. I'm really happy. I don't teach very many workshops. I'm kind of hard, it's hard for me to fly and teach.
For sure.
A lot of stress and stuff, but they're fun when I'm there teaching them.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've given my students, some pretty good information. I hope. I don't. Maybe not. Maybe they walk out there like, oh God, that guy's a dipshit. I want my money back.
Bryce Liston, horrible teacher. God,
worst teacher ever.
Yeah. The one thing I've kind of held on to as far as being self-taught, the bonus, other than probably financially not being in debt from the get-go.
Oh yeah,
is,
that's huge.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that I can teach myself kind of whatever I want. Like I have the skills to just figure things out.
Yeah.
Like, to problem solve at a certain.
Problem solve. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just really good at it, I think, and I don't know if school teaches you that. Like, I don't know if you get that from going to school, at least as good as I think I've gotten from not going to school.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, if that's a teachable thing.
Right.
Like if there's some weird way you can teach, because it took me forever to get to where I am right now.
It's slower.
Yeah,
it's a slower road.
It's definitely slower,
Yeah.
but the things I learned along the way, or like the ability to fail at something, is another thing I've got that I think are like a lot of art students seem afraid of failing.
No, that's that's a good point.
And
it's in such a public setting in art school.
Yeah.
You're being critiqued by your peers.
And for me, it's like, let me see if this works. Nope. And then you go like, cool, that didn't work. I'll retry that.
Right.
Yeah.
Again and again and again and again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I tell a lot of my students, the only difference between me and you is you've made that mistake, maybe 10 or 100 times. I've made it, 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Like, God, it's like, but we're dogged, right? We just go back in and we fight, get beat up.
Yeah.
We come out, lick our wounds, we go back in again.
Yeah.
So that's something to really, you kind of be admired, I think, about. And I think, as I go around and meet more artists, at shows and like group shows and around the country and stuff, I realize that we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, for sure.
And it really, when you're alone in your studio and you're fighting these things and you have so much doubt.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know how to do this.
Right.
And this is cool too, because my wife is a lot of times in years past, she'd go to shows with me. And I've seen her face at times when we sit around the table talking to these other artists, and they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I've been telling her, and she looks over at me and is like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Right.
They're saying that, you have never met them before. But it's like, you guys are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And then to hear artists that I've been admiring out there, and to hear that artist, like I'll say, you have the same problem?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot. Well, okay, I am an idiot, but I'm not the only idiot, where it's like we're all in this together.
Yeah, we're all just fumbling idiots together.
We really are. And then there's a lot of, that encourages you. You keep, at that point, you come back to your studio, it's like, I'm all right for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you bumble and fumble long enough, then you sort of stop bumbling and fumbling, but only after a lot of bumbling and fumbling,
right.
you know. And, I noticed that with my kids, they're into basketball right now, and I played basketball growing up. So,
You're tall.
not particularly, but, not as tall as you.
Well, pretty close.
All right, well, let's play some one-on-one after this is over.
Oh, God.
I see
you get to see my dexterity.
I see you're in
lack of.
I see you're in flip-flops. No, but it's interesting. I mean, just to see the process of learning and the way that I'll take my son. He'll shoot some baskets, he'll miss, and he'll get really frustrated. And I could see the emotion welling up and the desire to quit. And such an analogy for what we all go through.
That's great.
As artists, and especially I think self-taught artists, because you're right. You have to explore. You have to learn to problem solve on your own, and you also have to wrestle with the lack of certainty of not being directed into something.
That's so true.
It's a good process.
And it's been, and I get that from other artists, whether, maybe some self-taught and some schooling. And again, when I get that feedback from them that they're going through the same thing I'm going through, again, I think I'm okay. I'm doing
it
this
feels
okay.
good. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
when you hear someone you look up to, who you kind of are visualizing in your mind as being perfect, and then you find out that they're suffering from the same
thing
anxiety as you are.
Yes, years ago, a friend of mine, his name's Dan Beck. He moved back to North Carolina. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work or not.
My name.
No, that's right. I'll make you look him up.
I know the singer Beck.
It's different Beck.
Not personally.
I'll have you guys look him up though. But we got to be good friends after a show, and he was telling me one day, kind of the same thing. He says, Bryce, it's just kind of fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Because I'd always looked up to him.
Yeah.
And I'd seen his work in shows, and stuff. It's like, oh, damn, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a long time to get there, but perseverance, I think, is a big component of it.
That is huge. And, that's like, maybe, again, what Josh was saying, maybe you don't get in school. It's not taught that. Maybe it's innate, but when you're self-taught, you're forced to learn that perseverance, or give up.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you got to want it.
Yeah, there's one of his pieces. Real, real impressionistic, and he's a real fun guy to be around. He's just a real original.
Nice.
No filters. You'd like him here.
Awesome.
He's just like.
Is he ever in the area?
No, he moved. He was in Denver area for when I met him, and we hung out. He's moved back to North Carolina. Actually, maybe this is a good time. I'll plug his show. We're having a group show. So he has a nice studio back in North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina. So we're having a big group show with some pretty big names. Kevin Bilethus, who's another really good friend of mine, and even bigger names than that. I'm kind of drawing a blank at this point.
It happens.
Melinda Morrison. Think of the rest of them here. Is it Kim English? I think is on there.
No idea.
So it's just this. Yeah. Anyway, so we're having
Sergio's
big group show.
gonna listen to this. Like, okay.
I can see you looking around. I can see your eyes.
And he's gonna say
like,
something like, "I wish I could have said, oh yeah, Kim English. I really love her. His watercolors or some shit."
Oh, that's good. That's close. That's cool. Yeah. But we're having a great group show back. I think it's October 5th. So
nice.
Kevin and I, we've been friends forever. We're going to go fly back there and hang out and drink a bunch of beer.
Awesome. I was going to say, when you started naming him or talking about him, I'm like, he must drink beer.
Yep.
Anytime someone's like, he's fun to be around, I'm like, okay, so he's probably a partier.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, but super, that's like, I think, we also, we go around and, I say, well, like all artists are kind of cut from the same cloth, but yet, like I got a good vibe from both you guys. Like we could just hang out and it'd be totally cool. So you get that from these people. You meet them, and you hang out with them. You have so much in common. You become friends and stuff.
Right.
And so Kevin and I, we talk to each other on the phone every week or so. He lives in Kevin lives in Chicago.
Okay.
So and just a super funny story. So we met a few times, but Kevin and I. And Dan were, Waterhouse Gallery. They're in Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
so they used to have this annual figurative show.
Okay.
And they had big names in this. Jeremy Lipking was in there, and
Right.
Tony Pro, and Joseph Todorovich, and that's how I met all these guys. So I drove over there. Kevin flew on Romel de la Torre, and I said that with a little bit of an accent.
That was good.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Romel. I didn't really mean to
That
do
was
that.
classy as
Just
shit.
No, I like that.
pops
Yeah.
out. I was like,
Yeah, waiting to drive.
Romel's
The
probably like rolling his
classiest
eyes like, oh,
podcast.
fuck, say my name right, dumbass. But so we met all those guys over there. So Kevin and I one year, we hit it off really well and stuff, just palling around and stuff. So the next year we met, and I think we have several funny stories. There's lots of drinking, but this one
Yeah.
instance, Kevin and I really weren't drinking. We were actually being pretty good boys.
Just on mushrooms or something.
Maybe, yeah, maybe Kevin was. But, so we ran down the store, got a couple 6-packs of beer, and we just kind of peeled off from the partiers. They were partying in the rooms till 2:00 in the morning and so getting in trouble and everything. So we just like, well, let's find a quiet place and let's chat,
Right.
And in the pool, we just want to go by the pool, open up the gate. Well, first of all, there's a big sign on the pool that says no glass. No glass containers.
Uh-oh.
It's like, oh, fuck that,
You guys are some rule breakers.
Yeah,
huh?
I know. We're like, daring.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
we go in there, and when we put the 2 6-packs down on the table, and we, shot the shit there till really early in the morning. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, this is really
That's
cool,
cool.
Kevin. We didn't get drunk or anything. We were really sober. And Santa Barbara is always wet. It's always wet there. It rains, and it's, so it had been raining. The table is wet. See if you guys I'll see your eyes when you figure this out.
All right.
So we had put the 6-packs on the table that
Right.
was wet.
And the cantaloupe.
Oh yeah, Cantaloupe.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
California.
Yeah, 6-pack
I
and a
think you
cantaloupe.
guys
Tuscan
started
cantaloupe.
that since then. Maybe that's a Northern California thing. So we finish our thing, put the empties back in there. All right, let's head off to our room. We picked the 6-packs up. Well, the
Oh,
cardboard
no,
was
I see.
wet. I got
Everything
it.
fell
Leon
through,
got
yeah.
it. Oh shit! The beer bottles went everywhere. Down on the concrete, broke. Beer went everywhere. It's
nice.
like, and it's dark.
Yeah,
it's
what time is
pitch.
it?
It's
Yeah.
like 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god!
Right.
Now we know why they don't want glass around the pool.
They should say no cardboard. is
Yeah.
what- The glass is fine.
Glass
Don't.
is
Or,
fine.
yeah.
No cardboard.
Beware of wet tables. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
would have
I know,
sufficed.
I know.
Yeah.
So Kevin and I are literally, we're trying to be good boys. And years in the past, they this show brought all these wild artists in here, and they'd had problems, So they were kind of
I
on the
see.
worry for us, and we didn't want to add to that name of
Right.
being the Waterhouse Gallery's bad artists, bad boys,
Right.
We were down there in the dark, touching every inch of that pool, trying to find all those shards of glass.
Oh, that's super
when
nice.
when I look up and I see a flashlight coming toward us, like, oh,
Busted.
fuck, we were busted. Here comes the security guard. Oh my, he was actually pretty cool
That's
about it.
good.
He could tell we weren't drunk.
Right.
We tried to explain what happened. He's like, did you tapping the sign with his flashlight? He's like,
Yeah.
hey, there's a reason why we don't want glass around the
Yeah.
pool. Anyway,
We
so-
thought they were plastic.
Yeah. What? These are glass?
glass. I had no idea.
We were just as surprised
And
you when
you-
they broke.
In Utah, they sell beer in plastic.
Yeah.
So,
You play the Utah card, huh?
yeah,
That
which
worked.
I tried. Yeah, because that didn't work for Kevin because he's from Chicago.
Right.
So
And in Utah, the cantaloupes, are they complimentary?
they are, but they're never Tuscan. That's
No class
they're
out there.
just
So-
base model
Ugh.
cantaloupes, boring.
Barely juicy, probably.
Yeah.
Barely. You got to add your own juice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rehydrate them.
Yeah, the Tuscan ones don't have seeds. You just slice
That's
them and
it.
eat.
I'm gonna go back to that grocery store when I'm done here. I wanted my money back at first, but now I want that damn cantaloupe.
Yeah, I mean, of all the things,
Both.
too,
You should have both.
it's not like, how the hell did they type in cantaloupe,
Where did that? She saw I had a 6-pack. She's like, "What's your birthday? Like, do you want to see my driver's license? Nope, just your birthday. It's like, do you have a member card? No, sorry. And it's like we had this long conversation. I
Right.
had a 6-pack of beer. Where did
Yeah.
the cantaloupe come from? I don't know.
Well, you told us she had shifty eyes. So.
Yeah.
I mean, that's self-explanatory. On the side note, I think this conversation all started because I was like, What's the key to becoming a self-sufficient artist?
Yeah.
God, do we get sidetracked?
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's the first time ever on your podcast, right?
We like to stick to the script.
God,
this is all
hand me that
scripted.
script over there.
Yeah.
Read the next line. Now that's I think Sergio. I was communicating with him on Instagram at one point, and he just threw me out this link to this podcast. I'd never heard of this before. It's like, hey, go check this out. And I hadn't really been listening to many podcasts, so I thought I'll go check that out. So I liked it. Still working on one. We're passing some more beer around here. Oh, I'm almost empty. I'll get one in a second.
Yeah, this podcast's all right.
Yeah,
It's
so
okay.
it's like I listened to a few episodes. Hey, it's all right. I liked it. I felt like I felt like I was one of the. Thanks, Josh. I felt like I was one of the guys. You're sitting in the room chatting with these guys, and they're saying the same things I've been saying. It's like, yes,
Right.
I'm in my studio. It's, yes, exactly, right. So then I started listening to other podcasts, and there are some really good podcasts out there actually.
yeah.
But I began to realize, they're almost all interview style. The host asks the guest a question, and a lot of those are done, and that's not a problem. They're done over the phone,
Right.
Because there's a lot of distance and stuff. So I noticed that you guys always have your guest here,
Yeah,
right?
that's a big.
Or you go to their studio, or so it, and then and you guys just kind of go off and do your own thing. It's real casual. So I thought you have a unique format here.
Yeah, I literally was supposed to meet with some John Brazia. Do you know his artwork?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I was supposed to meet with him in L.A. It fell through because he's getting ready for a show, and he had a small window, and I was supposed to meet with him, and he was like, "Oh, I can't do it, but maybe we could do it over Skype." And I'm like, "Sorry, man. Like the big thing is that we want."
Authenticity.
We want to have the conversation in person.
Yeah. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at, it's like, except I got this microphone in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Josh, looking at Leon, like,
drinking a couple beers, hanging out.
Really cool. Got my flip flops on.
Yeah, we went out in Josh's studio and shot the shit for a few
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
and Looked at all his beautiful paintings in a pile on the floor.
Kicking them around a little bit. Hey, I know that one. That's a great piece, man. Oh, yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Looking at your floater frames that you make, you gave me some good hinters on that, because I've been wanting to make my own floater frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm brother in arms here because I've got a table saw, and I love mechanical things. I don't know,
sure.
Leon, do you?
I do make my own frames,
Do you?
although I'm trying to segue out of it.
Well, it takes a lot of time.
It's the time consumption.
Yeah,
I'm
huge.
questioning whether or not it's worth it. But
Just batch it out. That's what I do.
yeah, that's the way to do it, is to build it up and do
Yeah.
a bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll do because MJ needs frames as well, so I make both of ours. And I just one week I'll just take my time and make like 40 frames in a week, and it's like
Yeah.
that's forever.
Yeah.
That'll take me forever. And then I'll make a couple if I need a unique size. I'll make a couple, but for the most part, you have like your standard size ones. You can just batch all those out super quick.
Yeah.
At least that's how I do it.
Yeah. Well, you have a nice spot too. I mean, for me, I have to work in my backyard. I live in San Francisco.
Oh, I was going to ask you where. So
So-
are you in the city?
I am in the city.
Oh,
So I have to
yeah.
get my big ass saw, and I got to navigate this like windy, tight stairway down the stairwell, and then inch my way to the backyard over the trash bins.
And then when you're set up, you're on a 30-degree incline,
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
you're
it's,
like,
it's
Yeah.
it's a make it work situation. But I do,
do.
and it's cool. I actually enjoy the tactile experience of making things with wood.
me
and
too.
It is.
It's
It's
fun.
I've thought this for a long time. It's like I don't have a hobby. It's like I'm missing a hobby.
Yeah.
Although woodworking is a little bit of that hobby, except
Right.
it always is for my art. It's never.
Right.
It used to be. I used to make boxes and things and stuff for the fun of it. But since I went full time, I'll say I haven't really had time.
Right.
So what I do in my wood shop is usually it's either for my to work on my house
Right,
or for my art.
Yeah.
But it is. I get in there and I love the. It's like I guess we're all we're right brain. We're very artistic, but you've got that left
I'm
brain.
all brain.
You're all brain. Your brain you're firing right and left.
I mean,
right?
like my
Just-
whole body. I'm all brain is what I'm trying to say. I'm made out of brain.
That's a big brain,
That's
bro.
why you're so smart. But it's a nice opposite almost when you're down there and you're doing some
It is.
woodworking,
Yeah.
some mechanical. I mean, the math I'm pretty deficient at math, but
Yeah.
woodworking, just the simple
Yeah.
math does it. 2 + 2 = 4. You cut that piece of wood. Whoops, cut it too short. Cut
nice.
that piece of wood.
Yeah.
That's better. So it's a good. Yeah, it's a good to balance you out a little bit.
I love it.
The thing I do that I really I need to stop doing is that I work to the last second, and then I'll have to like try and rush a bunch of frames.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's
Right.
like you're just so stressed out. You're like, oh my god, I got to make
Yeah.
these frames in like 12 hours. You know,
It just becomes a negative.
it does. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
like, and that's like painting. You know, I mean, I'm sure you're in the same thing with the painting. You got to add that deadline.
Yeah. Mhm.
Deadline's good, but
Yeah.
you get down to that crunch minute and you're just sweating. It's like,
sucks.
oh my god,
Yeah.
you can't think. You know, and
Yeah.
you start making mistakes, and every
Yeah.
mistake you make, it compounds magnifies the
Yeah.
effect.
And
Yeah.
if you've been working for like
12 hours
Yeah, exactly.
straight.
Maybe you work like 5 12-hour days in a row, like right
Yeah.
before your show, and you're just like, you get so tired, your
Exhausted.
brain is not working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of adrenaline, you know, keeping you going. I've noticed that, you know, and it gets thin. Though it gets to the end,
Yeah.
you do your show, and then the show's over. And this is like a workshop too, you know. It's
Yeah.
like kind of run on adrenaline on a workshop. They have to, but then that's over. It's like, oh fuck, I just slept for a week.
Yeah.
you know, you are so exhausted.
Yeah.
You realize the adrenaline has worn off, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
crash.
What's your mind state in that space after you're done with the show and you go home? And
After a show? It's like it's usually a lot of regret.
See, I hear a lot of people get like
fuck.
depressed after a show. I've never felt that. Maybe I'm not that
You're not
self-aware, but people have said it, and I'm like, that's not. I mean, I'm always just like, all right, what next? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, you're
just
very like dogged with that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like that's great.
That
I'm
is
just
good.
like, what? That's kind of why I'm taking a break now. It's because my mind just is like, it's just so much like, all right, what do I do now? What is next?
Huh.
Like, I'm just always trying to move forward. I'm never
Yeah.
trying to, like a show to me isn't like if I have a group of work that I'm showing, that's never like the end point. Like there is that peak of work where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I get like a couple hours of sleep every day because I got to go to work, and then I wake up super early, and I'm now going to sleep super late to finish this show. So I do get to sleep, which is nice, but the show itself is like it's like that idea was fun. Next idea.
Yeah, for me, it's usually that's all I focus on is that the world doesn't exist past that show. And
Yeah.
maybe that's
I
where
get like that too.
do you?
I do.
Yeah, it's like that depression. I think because that was one of my notes. Like, ooh, you know, artists and depression. You know, it kind of runs hand in hand. But yeah, I think that's part of it. Is that let down.
Yeah, agreed.
It's a regret. You know, look at pieces.
You didn't get them
Inevitably,
where you wanted them to.
yeah, it's like, oh, you know, that piece should have never existed, you know, but I had to have 20 pieces for the
Right.
show. God, I only had 12 in me, but they wanted 20,
Yeah.
you know, and when the show's over, you know, those pieces come back pretty fast.
Yeah.
Whoops, let's sand that off. That
Yeah.
never happened. Please
hate those
don't,
pieces.
you know, and then fuck. They show up on the the
Yeah.
internet 5 years later. It's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, it's out there forever now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the piece doesn't exist anymore, you know.
I mean,
And-
I definitely regret. Like I did the 6 pieces for Wonderland not that long ago.
yeah, right. I remember you talking
and
about
I
that.
had 2 pieces in there I was happy with, and then the rest I wasn't happy with. But I'm more like obsessed with like the 2. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
nailed 2. Like I got 2.
Yeah. Good
So
for
that's
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like you're like
Yeah,
you're like the
glass
positive
half
guy.
full,
You're looking
yeah.
at that glass half full. God, you know.
It's not even half full. It's technically it's 1/3 full, but
All right. Well, yeah,
I'm like,
that's
hell
cool.
yeah, got that juice in.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, we
Uh,
more artists need to think like that.
I get
you know?
more upset when people's favorite piece is the one I hate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's all. I think I heard you talking about that on your
Yeah.
last interview.
Yeah.
That came up, and I thought that's so true. You know, the piece that you like the most. I think it was MJ may have said that
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
You know, you love this piece. It's kind of a personal favorite, and it
Right.
sits in the show. You know, and it ends up
Yeah.
coming back to you. But the ones you didn't care for all that much
Yeah.
sell. You know, they had more like salability, more of a commercial.
Yeah.
You
I
know
don't
what's
know what it
weird
was.
is when someone buys a piece that I don't like that much, but I understand it's like in the last show, I was like, okay, this piece is probably going to be people's favorites. When people like say if that piece sells, I don't have any respect for the person that buys it. Like I'm like,
Uh-oh.
okay, you don't know. And then if someone buys the piece of art that I like, I'm like, you know what's up.
you know
Yeah.
your
Or-
stuff.
I
Or
just
if they-
want to say for the record, I respect every single person who buys my art. Please
Yeah.
come to my
Yes.
show. No, I'm just
And
We
kidding.
love
for
you
the
all.
record, barely respect any of you.
Well, have you noticed too though that when other art, I mean that's a peg in your headboard too. Other artists are end up buying your work.
That's
Right.
cool.
It's
That's
like,
a great
oh,
feeling.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they are
That's a great
usually
feeling.
they'll snag the pieces. They'll snag the unfinished pieces,
Right.
the pieces that are that you like because
Right.
we're all, like I said, we're all kind of cut from that same cloth.
Yeah.
They're
doubt.
they're looking at something different in that work than maybe, and I don't want to say just the public, the
Right.
people who are buying the art in the gallery, whether they're educated about art or not, but what appeals to
So
them
the people who
commercially.
know, yeah. who are in the
Yeah,
know.
so they're
Right.
they're after something more polished, more finished, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that other artist is seeing what you see
Right.
quite often, and again is like, man, I want I love that piece. I want that piece,
That's-
man.
that's the
It's like,
best.
whoa,
I always
that's nice.
I always say it too, like we've all seen people's tattoos. Like we know that they don't know what good art is.
Right.
So like that's the dilemma is as an artist you're trying to create this great piece of artwork while at the same time knowing most people are going to
aren't
have
good.
like not so good of taste.
Yeah.
And so you play that dilemma of like, should I go towards what I know is appealing to most people, but to me isn't going to be fun at all?
It never works that way for me. Every time I make a painting that I think, oh, this is like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw a crowd pleaser in the bunch or something like that. Because usually I try not to think about pleasing people when I make the work. But
Right.
I like to throw one in every now and then that I think maybe this will sell or something. It never works that way.
Yeah.
The painting I make that I think is going to be the one that sells, it never
Right.
sells.
Doesn't sell.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, but we all know, like, you could probably paint Marilyn Monroe, like,
100
and just
times
become a
and sell them
full-time
all.
artist.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
we,
true.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
kind of know that. Like,
Right.
everyone kind of knows those, like, easy, like, things. And,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I'm like, can't knock the hustle because, like, they're figuring it out. It's like the people that like the other day I was talking to Sergio about the people that they do those like wine couple art classes that are kind of, I don't know if they have
Yeah, I
them
know
in your
about
area,
that.
but here they have like these, it's becoming like a big thing where like these people, they drink wine, they paint something, and it's like the shittiest sunset
I'll bet.
silhouette
Yeah.
tree.
Very commercial.
It's
Like-
like the most rudimentary Bob
Yeah.
Ross like approach,
And
where
then-
you sort of wash in the sky and then you some silhouettes of some palm trees.
Yeah.
and-
Nice.
And then you see
Oh, yeah,
these
that's new to me.
classes, and there's like 50 people in there. And then you talk about workshops, and there's like 4 people in there or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you're having
Yeah.
trouble filling it, and
Yeah.
and it's like they're charging, I don't know, I think
lot
I
of
heard
money.
like $60 to $80 a person.
Yeah, really.
And it's like they're making a killing, and the person teaching the class can't paint.
Yeah.
It's like,
But that
They-
person is really good at hosting the party. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different skill.
I mean, I could
probably.
host a party.
Yeah, you could. I think you should do it, Josh.
I definitely can't teach people because I'll get fucking angry.
Yeah, you would. You'd be the worst teacher.
Yeah, I'd be like,
damn it.
dumbass.
Why are you
All right,
doing it
you're
that
out.
way?
Get out.
You're
no
out.
refunds.
Josh could never teach, Garrett. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you teach it all, Leon?
Not at all. Not at all. But I just know, Josh has his way of doing things,
Yeah.
and when he sees people sort of deviating from what he thinks is the best way to do it, it's like nails on the chalkboard kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. There's one of our buddies, Cantaloupe. He always live paints in front of Wonderland for shows. Like randomly, he'll show up and live paint. And me and Monty, we've been known to like doodle on his paintings. Usually, I'm pretty drunk by that point. But the problem is that I'll do something on his painting, and then walk away, and Monty will change it, and in my head I'm like exploding, and then I'm like,
Don't do that,
I've
it's
got to go
perfect."
get drunk.
Yeah, you got to play it off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I don't even play it off. I'm usually like, what the fuck? And he's like, what? And I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this. Collaborating with other
Yeah,
artists.
collab-
It's
Collaborating
great
is,
for that reason. I mean, I did a extensive collaborative duo for a while, and I loved that about it was kind of getting your comfort zone wrenched open a little
It
bit.
would, yeah.
Right.
Your expectations, you have to just get rid of expectations to do that. And I think that was a really good lesson for me in my learning
Oh, that's
process.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But
in a way.
in a way, maybe.
In a way, I can't. I like me. a painting I can let go of the second I'm done with it. I'm like done. And then I don't give a fuck. Like I can throw it in a fire, not give a shit about it.
You divorce yourself from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a good attitude.
But during the process, I have to control that. Like I can't let that part go because that's the only part I enjoy. That's the only part. Like doing the artwork is what I'm doing. Like that's why I do. Like I don't do it for the end result. I'm not like let's like sit and bathe in this.
You have
you have
to
process. It's the journey of the process.
It is. Well, you have to readjust your expectations of what that process is when you're.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with you, but there's something thrilling once you sort of just let go and jump off the cliff, and you've spent 30, 40 hours on something, and then you send it off, and someone just like, right over the top of a part you like, and you know,
I hate that.
That's it's thrilling once you sort of reframe your mind around it. You can actually kind of, I don't know, I got off on it, I liked it. There was something that really appealed to me in some sort of primal way about it.
It's yeah, the like I hate roller coasters. Like for me, roller coasters are misery. Like when people say they love roller coasters, I mean, whatever, do whatever you want, but I hate them. I know I hate them. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is like the fact that you're not in control.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's not that they make you sick. It's just you're not in control.
I mean, I hate heights too. Heights is a huge fear.
Yeah. So you got.
And I hate the G-force, but like there's a part of letting control of my life which I am not okay with. I think it also has to do with like probably my upbringing and all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like shit that happened when I was younger was like, well, I'm not going to let that happen to me. You know what I mean? And so control over something is probably, I mean, for me, it's almost everything. It's like, I can't not control it.
Yeah.
I sound horrible.
Being a visual painter, that you probably chose the right medium because if you were working as a crew in a movie, doing animation or something, it's such a group effort
for sure.
So you've chosen the right thing. It's a very individualistic approach, and you don't have to share it with anybody. You can be in 100% control of it. You're only fighting you're helping yourself or you're fighting yourself. There's nobody else but you there.
Yeah. And I don't think you're giving yourself enough. I mean, you're saying you're a control freak. I think you're kind of a dichotomy. Maybe that's sort of captured in your work.
That was in my notes.
Was it?
I used dichotomy several times because I think we're all a dichotomy.
We're trying to work this word in.
A mix of like opposites many times, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure.
And Josh's work is like, some of it is very beautifully articulated. Some of it is very loose. Some of it is very elegant. Some of it is like a fart shooting out of a butt. It's like you play that sort of control versus loose, and the same thing is true with your personality.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't consider you a control freak. In fact, this podcast is a perfect example because you don't edit it. Whatever gets said is said, and it's just out there. So,
and I mean, pretty much. The control is like a underlining hum to my life.
Right.
It's not the. It's like the art. I can mess it. I'm not afraid to mess it up. I just don't want anyone else to mess it up.
Yeah, that's right.
I see what you're saying.
It's like.
So how would you be? Like I have a group of friends I hang out with in Utah. It's a critique group. We get together, and they're actually pretty good because they can be pretty brutal.
I would love
It's
that.
not the kind of crit you go in and they all look at it and say, "Oh, I think it's lovely." And it's like no, because there's usually alcohol involved,
right?
And it can go kind of late into the night.
Cool.
Yeah, and it can get a little brutal sometimes, but it's interesting, So you'd be okay with something like that? I mean, you're okay to take the critique.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, because I know there's a few
especially
artists,
from artists. That's like the best.
Yeah.
It's funny because my wife, while I'm working on a piece, there'll be an area that's not rendered out that I plan on rendering out or something I left loose purposefully, and I love leaving that part that way. And she'll say like, that part you seem like you should take more time on. I'm like, I know. And then she'll say like, do you mean to leave that? And I'm like, that's my favorite part of painting.
Was that your intention?
Yeah. And she always will like critique the thing I purposefully did or I'm planning on doing.
Yeah. The flip side of that I was going to mention earlier, when people a lot of times make a positive comment to me, it's on the thing that's annoying me about the painting. Like really? I made it too blue, and someone will be like, I love that color blue.
I love how intense that is.
Which makes it even more worse. It makes it worse because I'm like, they're noticing the part that shouldn't be sticking
but
out.
Does that change now? But when they make that comment, does that change your perception of that sometimes? Like, it's like, hey, well, maybe that's not so bad after all.
Well, no, I think gradually I'm sort of succumbing to that reality, which is that people don't parse the details of our paintings the way we do. Often the paintings that we think are great, other people don't like, and vice versa. So, it's really the process of painting, and especially as a self-taught painter, is really the process of letting go and being comfortable with your mistakes and your imperfections.
That's been a big part of like my journey, and I've learned just somewhat recently is really allowing those mistakes out there, acknowledging them, and I've been doing those Instagram live stories.
Oh, you have.
And when I first started doing those, I was like a wreck. It's like, this is like live.
Nerves,
I was nervous, and I still do a little bit before each time I do it. But that's when I find like this mindset I changed around to like, let's throw the mistakes out there. Let's show, and I do that in my workshops. It's like I make, it's like we talked about earlier. I make mistakes everywhere. I make more mistakes than anybody.
Right.
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. So it's like, let's show this on film. It's like, and I keep thinking, even that last one I did, it was like the reference was kind of off a little bit, and I was out of my comfort zone, and my instinct is like, don't show it, don't do it. I was like, no, fuck it. Let's do this. And if it turns out like, shit, then that's it. And so like own your mistakes, Bryce. Don't try to hide them anymore. So I'm trying to learn, here I'm like old dog trying to learn new tricks.
I have to say there's that. It's also a lot easier to own your mistakes when you have, a portfolio like you do. And obviously you're a tried and true, phenomenon. So
thanks, Leon. I appreciate that, man.
But I mean,
here's your $40.
Yeah, absolutely.
I told you, it's like every time you say it, I'll give you $40.
Tried and true. Best of all time. Best of all time.
Best of all time.
I only got so much cash on me.
It's just like 2 hours of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like, I'm rich.
So my wife picks me up. It's like, I just spent $500. What? I thought they were going to pay you.
But so as I was saying, compared to an artist as spectacular as you, probably the average person, thank you very much, the average person has a lot bigger of mistakes to be comfortable with. So I think the more talented you get, the more easy it is to become comfortable with your mistakes.
That's a good point. Maybe that's the natural, again, we only see it from our one perspective. And we go out and, with another honored artist and they say something that, tweaks that a little bit. He's like, oh, hey, that's I didn't thought about it in that direction. So I mean, that's a natural progression of your journey. You get to a point where you're fine with those mistakes because of what you've done and your journey, your progress, what you have out there.
I always think also that artists are really talented in the beginning at self-deception. Like when you were first making art, you're going like, damn, this is good. Like I'm onto something here. Like you're walking around like, man, I'm the man. I could draw.
Right.
And then you look at that same drawing 10 years later and you just cringe.
It's like the arrogance of youth, and sometimes you think about that, but if you didn't have that arrogance, you'd have just given up. So you have to have these candy colored filters on to even get through it.
True.
And I remember I look back at pieces like, if you bought that piece, I love that piece, but really like those pieces, I was referring to the collector out there that made this piece hanging on the wall. It's like, I love all my pieces out there. But I think even collectors understand that, that maybe that was an early piece, but I look back at that, and again, I bring that back, it'll pop up on the internet, right? Because it's out there and you're just like, oh my God. I remember thinking that was a pretty good piece when I did.
Right.
For sure. Fuck, that's horrible.
My stepdad has this sketch. When I was probably like 15 or 16, I had, it was during kind of the early 90s, and it was sort of the gangster era. And I had this, do you remember Darkwing Duck? Do you remember who Darkwing Duck is?
Yeah.
I was like a Darkwing Duck character that I've taken off the back of a cereal box, and I dressed him as a cholo. He had like a Pendleton buttoned up to the top, and a beanie pulled down really low, and I had like my full backpack full of cans and everything. And I was gonna go paint it in the drainage ditch by my house, but my stepdad was snooping around my room, and he thwarted my plans. But he saved that drawing.
Oh, really?
And it is so. I need to post it at some point.
Should.
It is so
Let's
cool.
see it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life where I would have destroyed it, where I would have been so embarrassed by it. I just could not live. But now I look at it, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the same
got a
place.
good story,
Yeah.
behind it now too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at old work now and I know it's bad. So whenever I'm face to face with like a painting or something that I've done that I know I don't like anymore, I will the thing I get the most upset about is the making of the frame.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding. Are you
I'm
serious?
Like, look at that miter.
The frame.
So fucking
I
garbage.
can see right through that miter.
Yeah.
Like all these like little like things like that. I'm like, oh, that's so bad.
So
made.
you're looking at the mechanical aspects
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's the part I get most upset about. Or the materials. When I was like doing art when I was younger, I was like extremely poor, and so a lot of like the materials I would use were like found furniture on the side of the road, that like dressers, and I would pull all the drawers out and take them and throw them in wherever I was in like whatever car, and then when I'd get home I would like break them down and use like the bottom paneling.
The bottom panel.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
that'd make a good substrate.
Yeah, or like
so cool.
doors. Like I would break down doors and similar to like this one here, and I learned how to break those door downs really easily. Those are actually decent wood.
And probably the older they are, the better the wood.
Right.
Like from the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Exactly.
It's pretty straight, fine grained wood.
Yeah, and so a lot of my work was that, and then I had like this crappy miter saw. The first miters I was cutting actually were on this really shitty table saw, and it was. I'm happy I have my fingers still. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how to use a table saw at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Hey, you got all your fingers still. That's good.
I'm so happy about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I used to get a ton of kickback because I didn't understand that you shouldn't put a thin piece of wood and go like this against a fence.
Yeah.
And
and you don't have any holes in you anywhere,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
no
I
kickback.
used to like, pew, like
Yeah, you
fucking
don't
fly right
respect.
by.
Yeah, I mean it's like that.
Yeah.
It can shoot out of there so fucking
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
It
we-
can rip your hand in
We
so
all
quick.
saw those videos in junior high, at wood shop.
Yeah.
See, I never did wood shop.
Oh,
Big mistake. I always did art class because I knew it could pass. It was like it's my
Oh yeah, there's like it's basically like driver's ed. They show you these things that could happen in wood shop if you don't do it right. It's like, oh god, I can't watch this.
Right.
A lot of missing eyeballs. And
I
things
wish
like that.
I
Yeah.
should have.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that goes back to like your youth and how fucking your ego just tells you like
go.
yeah you're like
You're,
I'm
you're the
nailed
best.
this.
You're the best. You're like fucking John Singer Sargent. You are so good.
Yeah.
Give me another year or two, and I'll be painting as good as him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then later in life, you're like, I'm not even in the same universe as
No.
that guy.
Yeah.
I never will be
Yeah.
in the
Not
same
at all.
universe.
But yeah, I mean, on the side note though, those like Instagram lives, I'm like super into them when I get the chance to see them, especially live. I don't like doing them, but I know you do them, and I like when I see it. I'm like, cool, I get to watch this.
Yeah, they're really, I like to watch more of them. It's usually I'm in the middle of doing something. It's like, oh shit, I'll have to come back and watch this a little bit later. But I'll try to watch a few minutes of it, and they're really cool, because they're really. And I'm working on a YouTube channel, kind of put some on YouTube, and I guess work on a Patreon account where I can be a little more serious about it and have actual students and some feedback and really get in depth on that. But I know how much work there is in that. But these Instagram ones I love them because they're live, and then people are asking you questions, right? There's like someone in Iran is asking you, what color is that?
Right.
And that still blows my
that's
mind.
cool.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's this guy in Malaysia and he's watching this video.
Yeah.
I can't get over how cool that is.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Does it affect your process to know you're being videoed? Do you find that you're more focused in your technique or anything like that?
Well, that's part of that dichotomy that's me. Is it does, but yet I've looked at, and as I was painting a couple of them, they weren't actually smoother in a way because I don't think I was allowed to overthink them.
Yeah, I see.
And as I'm painting them and talking, and you're juggling everything. You're trying to do it, and you're looking. It's like this. You're looking over your phone, trying to paint. You can't get down to it. You can't see. And a couple times I'm painting this little tiny face or his eye, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to turn out like crap.
Yeah.
I look down, I was like, oh, it's actually not that bad,
Yeah.
because I'm
It's shrunk
I'm
down
just,
to a tiny little
box as well.
And
So
you're,
you have that
you're
advantage.
just doing the basic,
Yeah.
simple shapes like you're supposed to be doing.
see.
You're teaching your students keep the simple shapes, no detail, and it's forcing you to do that.
Right.
And so it's an opposite effect almost. And I'll look at it. It's not great. It's just little studies, but it's like, yeah, it's not too bad. I like that. So it's been surprising, and it's just like teaching always surprises you. Obviously, you just think you're going to teach these students something, and they end up teaching you something. The process ends up teaching you something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's just social media in general. So
It's
fucking weird.
I was just thinking on the way in here, because I'm trying to think, it's like, what do we talk about on there? I know it's not scripted or anything, but it's like social media, it's like 5 or, even 10 years ago, or, because like I'm old. Okay. I'm 53. So I think I'm your oldest. Your oldest.
Brett's close.
Award winner. You won the. I don't know how old Brett is.
I think he's 52, 51, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's close.
Okay, close. But anyway, it's like, I grew up, obviously, and, you're not that far from me, actually, but you grew up without social media and stuff.
And I am just so young.
Such a
So far
young
back.
pup.
Yeah.
I mean, even you.
I'm still wearing diapers.
Yeah, I can tell.
When I walk, it just.
But yeah, social media has changed, just the last couple of years, Instagram, I don't know what an episode Waiting Dry would be without mentioning Instagram, but I mean, it's changed everything.
Yeah.
And listening to your episodes, thinking about, it's like, oh, damn, Instagram really had, for good and bad.
Yeah.
It's changed everything. The way we see art, we view art, we think about art, we meet artists, we get overburdened by art.
Even you mentioned Patreon, and it's like, that wasn't an option.
Oh, what, like, 2 or 3 years ago? I don't know how long it's been around, but
now
it's
there's like
off.
There's some artists that are full-time artists based off of Patreon.
Yeah. I was first introduced to it from a bunch of models that I use. So, and one model, she's making a lot of money every month. A lot. I looked at that. And she told me about that when I checked out her account, and it shows how much she makes per month. And I thought, okay, I need to be, looking at this pretty seriously. But, models, a little different venue, because they show, their product is a little different. And I think it's really, people want that product. So I was like, okay, now as an artist, what am I going to do on Patreon? So I've been humming and hawing on this for 2 or 3, a couple of years. Like, what am I going to do? I don't know him, but I follow him as Stephen Bauman, and Sergio is on Patreon. So I try
MJ is too.
And MJ, okay. So I try to find these artists, visual artists that are doing Patreon, and just like, okay, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I heard an interview, Stephen. I shouldn't mention another podcast. I never listen to other podcasts, only you guys.
Thank you for that loyalty.
Loyalty.
Yeah, if you're listening to other podcasts and you're just listening now,
just quit.
Either stop listening to ours, or
come on,
or unsubscribe to the rest.
Yeah, no shit, loyalty, man. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
So
they have nothing to offer.
Yeah,
suck it, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, if that's your real name.
But I was listening. Stephen was giving an interview on a different podcast.
How dare he?
Yeah, I know, he's terrible. But he was telling the host, how hard it was to set that up, how much, to figure out the ins and outs, and write down what you need to write down to get people interested, and do the videos, and then there's feedback, because it's a real community. People, students and other people can comment, and there's very engaging. And I guess at some point you can do Skype, where you're actually giving your people who are paying you certain levels feedback on their work. And I'm realizing how that's a pretty serious endeavor. And so I got to make sure I'm ready for that to do that. I don't want to get into it and realize, nah, I don't want to do this.
It's the hard thing. The hard thing with Patreon too is I think you don't want to overcommit. I mean, you have to promise people that you're going to come through for something. Right.
And as an artist, I know I'm, I don't know if you guys are like this. Maybe Josh, control freak that he is. Maybe he's not, but I'll really be up
I like
one
to be
day
called
or week.
control. I'm trying to
control God.
Control God. There you go.
I was going to say,
it's there. I can see it on the tip of your tongue.
Like when you collect things, like I can't remember.
A hoarder.
Black hole.
Whatever the word is.
A collector.
But I'll, 1 week I'll be on, and or 2 weeks, I'm really going, I'm doing good. But then I kind of fall off this little bit of a I don't know how to explain it, you know, and I really get drawn into myself.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, it's like a little bit of depression, a little bit. And you just kind of get a little dark, and you're just like, oh fuck, I don't want to go out there. It's, you know, it's exhausting. I don't want to communicate. I just want to, you know, be to myself for a while. And I wonder, like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because on Patreon, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Once you've committed, you know, Leon said you've committed to something every month. You have to do it. So that might be a good thing for me. It's like, I can't pull into myself and disappear for 2 weeks.
How
I
consistent
have to do that.
How consistent are you with your social media?
Not.
Okay.
I try, you know, and I don't think this would be a Waiting to Dry episode without the mention of David Chaffetz, right? So he like gets mentioned. Yeah, like, you know, he's got to start paying you money for these shout outs. But I know him, you know, we've
more.
met.
He needs to be paying
he's gonna pay you
more.
more. David, you gotta up your fee. It's a fee now. But you know, he was saying, I met him in Salt Lake because he did a video with Bellamuse Productions. Liz, that's Liz Robbins. She's a great friend of mine. So she does these great videos, these very professional quality videos. And he flew into Salt Lake. Okay. And she did his video.
Nice. I think I saw that.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And so we hung out at a restaurant and got to chat a little bit and stuff. So he was telling me a little bit, because at that point, this has been a couple of years ago. I mean, he was really going up fast. His his Instagram was going up like lightning. And I said, I actually asked him, I was like, God, your social media is going up really fast. Yeah. And he said, I read somewhere you need to post like twice a day.
Yeah, a lot
of posts and be very consistent with it. Yeah. And he said he had a lot of backlog of pieces he could post, you know, and that was good. And I've noticed, I've tried to keep an eye on how he does things, and he'll give you a close up of one. You know, I'm this idiot, and I just show out the whole piece. You know, it's like one shot. Oh shit, you know.
Yeah, but you know, when I found out we were going to be interviewing you, I went and spied on your Instagram.
How dare you?
Yeah, I went all the way down to the bottom.
Oh God, nobody does that.
Creeped on you all the way down to the bottom.
He was in the bushes.
Yeah, I saw your planings in Utah.
Oh God, you just go to the. I know you've been to the bottom. Yeah. What's my first post?
Oh,
you don't remember.
Penis picture.
It's beer. It's a 6-pack of beer. I think, because it had a naked lady on
That's
it.
cool. I liked you. But, you know, I noticed that when I was looking through, it was like, you know, you'd have like a post would have like 162 likes, and then the next post would be like 357 likes, and the next post would be like 580 likes. And I mean, within 5 or 6 pictures, you were into over 1,000 likes per post. So you skyrocketed too.
It did, you know, and I've actually felt pretty good about it. I wonder about these artists sometimes. I look at their accounts and they have like, you know, 600,000 artists or followers. Like, what the, how did you do that? But, you know, I've never paid anybody to promote me or anything. That's just been organic growth. I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah, good for you.
You know, pretty good. You know, there were some targets I wanted to, you know, some friends and acquaintances that are, you know, they're like 120,000 now and above. It's like, oh, I'll never get there.
Yeah.
But
yeah. MJ the other day, because me and her were both we both grew organically.
Yeah, that's the only way to go as an artist. I don't know why. I don't know why as an visual artist. Okay, I guess, and I think you talked about that on a previous. Yeah, it does give you a perception of being maybe more popular.
Yeah, probably help for gallery shows. Maybe.
Yeah, but you know, in the nitty gritty as a visual artist, why would you want people who don't care about your art?
Right.
I guess it does happen. It's like, you know, I don't know what those followers. I don't know what they're doing out there. I don't. Right. You know, you get to what 10% or 5% comment. You know, there's people talk about your feedback is actually pretty low. But anyway, you know, why would you pay people, you know, who don't care about your art? It never made any sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And so, but there's this like trick people do to gain awareness because of the algorithm. And so what they'll do is they'll join groups. I mean, it's not the worst idea. So you'll join like a group of, like, say, fellow artists. Everyone has similar things in common. You all have like a certain amount of followers, and you put what the fuck are they called? I don't even know how to do it. Like notifications on for these artists, and everyone, once that notification goes on, everyone goes and likes it and comments some large comment to kind of boost where you are on this on the scroll or whatever. And some artists use that, some artists don't. I don't, but MJ, she's been like kind of bringing it up recently, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that shit. Like, I'm already too busy. I don't need to like have to go and to like artist and say, this is so, and I have to like figure out what I'm going to say to each artist. It's like, if I really like something, I'll say something.
Yeah.
I don't want to like have this be a job.
Yeah. We're already organically doing that. Basically. I mean, you know, I comment on your stuff. You comment on mine. I mean,
exactly.
You know, it's what you do
and there's, you know, familiarity, you know, now I know you met you face to face. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm probably not even following you. Although I know I was looking at your work after your you know,
you
your
were?
podcast.
Okay, cool.
So
I just started following
you. Know, when
yesterday.
I met you at the doors,
no
like,
worries.
you know, and it's like
I'm still not following either of you.
That's stupid of me. But anyway,
that's all right.
No, I'm, you know, but now
That's
it's
cool.
like, you know, and that's like what I was saying about those other artists. And I've known, you know, we met each other at shows, and you become friends.
Exactly.
And then the work is personal to you.
Yeah,
You're looking
absolutely.
at it, and you start making comments on it because you know that guy. I mean, that's just human.
Exactly.
That's just human nature.
Yeah.
So
and I don't remember anyone's name except for if it's an artist that I've like met for the most part, unless I'm really into them.
Yeah.
Like an artist, I can see their work a million times. The second I meet them, I'm like, oh, now I have your art and your face
name,
attached to it
all together
remember
now.
it.
Yeah.
It's weird. But
yeah, I think I made a comment on Waiting to Dry at one point, joking around. It's like, you know, you'll never remember my name. You said, "Oh no, I know your name." You know, it's like, you're Bryce.
Yeah.
What's my last name? I have no idea.
yeah. It took me a while, but I got it. Yeah, one of the few names, even like David Chaffetz.
Yeah.
I've like followed his stuff for a very long time, and just because of the podcast, I've learned it. I knew his name was David.
And you knew his work. You recognize his work. Yeah, you should. I guess. Well, you'd have to. So he's in. Is he still in Seattle? I think he's in Seattle.
Yeah, we've reached out to him. He's like, "Yeah, do it if I'm in that area, or if
next
we're
time
ever
he's
in that
down.
area."
Oh, it'd be great. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, I love his work.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Always,
and
look at
one
it
of
for
the things I think
inspiration.
his success in Instagram, I think his use of color also is such. I've noticed that too. Is
inventive color too. You know,
people that are pushing some direction really hard and really well, I think get a lot of followers because they're just doing something at such a high level. Like Daniel Segrove, you know his artwork.
I don't.
He does a lot, and he does a lot of like rendered pencil work with like it's almost unfinished in a, I mean, very unfinished in a way, on purpose, and then it has high rendered sections of the painting, which he does really, really good. And same thing. His following just like skyrocketed, and it made sense. It was just like, you see his pieces, and you just are like, wow, that's good.
Yeah. So like, I don't want to use it in a negative term, but a niche or a niche. Where you know they're really focusing on that.
Yeah.
So when people go to your, I guess that's another thing I've read. You guys probably read the same thing. Is try to be consistent with what you you're showing. So when people are expecting that from you, and you post something, an outlier piece, something odd, or if I were to post a landscape, it'd be like crickets. That's not what I expect. So
I've mentioned this before, but like a year ago I started painting oil paints. It's probably like a year and a half now. But when I segued away from my mixed medium style of painting to oil painting is the primary way I do art now, is there was a huge like lull in followings and even a decrease. And I was just like, well, that's fine. Like I'm trying to do, I have like a thought in my head of where I want to go, and I can't do it with my style I was doing stuff in. So I'm just going to keep trucking. And then
it caught up to you. Didn't it?
And then at some point, like things started increasing at a rate that I haven't been increasing for a while. And I'm like, well, there we go. I mean, it just, people just were used to one thing. And
it is. I have a friend back in Utah. He's actually a pretty big staple in Utah. I should like call this episode name dropper. I don't know if I'll drop it. It's Robert Duncan. Okay. So he's like a big staple in Utah. And this was back before I knew Robert. I knew of him, but he was a Western artist, the Cowboy Artists Association. He was doing all that and doing cowboys and Indians and stuff. And one day he just said, "I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done." And he switched his style to something completely different. He had a pretty big base, and he said his sales just dropped, just went to zero. And he didn't change completely. It's not like he went to like abstract modernism.
Right.
He just went to a little different. If you looked up his work, you could kind of see what it is. It's not cowboys and Indians, but it's farm, and he lives in a farm area in Utah and stuff.
I see.
So it was really just a little jump. But he says it took 7 years to get the same following that he had when he was doing cowboy.
That's
more cowboys and Indians are.
I respect that.
And it did too. I was like, wow, that's because he had a family, just like me. He had kids and a house and a wife he was trying to support, and for him to say, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, he's doing well. He was doing financially quite well with that. He's just in his heart. He didn't want to paint that anymore. Switched, and then the following, the clients just dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that lag. For that was 7 years to switch. Yeah. So that's the world we live in. You make any little switch, and people know you for a look.
Yeah.
And you have to expect that. I think that's normal.
Yeah, I think so.
What's interesting about Instagram feeds is that you start to think that everyone's feed looks like what your feed looks like. Like you guys are probably looking at a lot of like art and stuff like that. Yeah. And then have you ever had that where you look at someone else's feed and they're looking at like pictures of plants and like all kinds of crazy shit, You're like, wow, there's a whole nother world out there.
There's a world outside of art.
Yeah, it's weird.
We're just a little slice, but it's our whole world.
It is, Yeah, you inflate it in your mind to be something so important.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many times, or you'll hear somebody in some venue say, I don't know, maybe on news or something, who's the most famous living artist? And in your mind, you're going through all these people,
Banksy,
Jerry Lipking, this, and they throw out this, Damien Hirst. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they don't know. They're not privy to my world. The most famous person in your world is a complete unknown in the vast.
I would say Banksy's probably got it.
Banksy.
Yeah, even though I'm not a fan.
I think you're saying his name wrong.
Am I?
It's Banksy.
Banksy. Oh.
But there's a K in there.
I know that. Okay, I know his work.
Banksy. Just like the word bank with an SY at the end.
Oh, how was I saying it?
Banksy. You were saying
Banksy. Yeah. Banksy, yeah.
Yeah, Banksy.
Because that's always the person whenever you talk about art, people are like, oh, have you seen Banksy?
Oh,
Banksy.
So
he's so famous, we don't know how to say his name.
Oh, yeah, that's what you need. Or, I guess, and he's not one of my, he's famous and Aristotle, I like him, but it's Odd Nerdrum. I don't know if you guys like his work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting.
That's your favorite living artist?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was going to say, I think he branches the gap sometimes.
I see.
I'll hear, people who are not in the art world, they might, Odd Nerdrum might come up in a conversation and you'll say, oh, yeah, shit, okay.
I see. The lay person knows who he is.
Yeah. So he's one like that. There might be another one or two like that, but it's rare,
Yeah,
Shepard Fairey. Sure. Everyone knows who Shepard Fairey is these days.
A lot of like the street artists seem to have the most attention.
It's true, yeah.
And then when you go to like traditional artists, that's probably the smallest grouping.
It is.
Yeah.
Of like fame you can.
I think so.
Aim for.
But we're happy in our own little delusional world, aren't we?
Yeah.
We don't have it any other way.
When I was a kid growing up, I always aspired when I grew up to be in a situation where I was hanging with like a community of like forward-thinking artists. I always sort of like romanticized that in my head. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I grew up and I was like part of like a cool art
avant-garde
culture?
Kinda.
Yeah, well, because you read biographies of artists and stuff, and
with the jazz piano in the back and the cigarettes smoking.
Exactly.
Everything's sepia toned in this world.
Yeah. Or I was going back, like 19th century in France.
There you go.
Degas and Renoir are all hanging out, together smoking, and Lautrec, they're down in their broth, drawing in the brothel and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's cool. That group of artists, that bohemian, real pushing the edge and stuff, and
that's one of the
absinthe.
That's one of the coolest payoffs of being an artist, really, is, financially it's a struggle.
It is, isn't it?
There's so many things that are difficult, but just having the opportunity to, rub elbows with other talented people is really, it's special,
It
I
really
like
is.
it a lot.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's a weird superpower. You know what I mean? Like,
I never thought
all of
about
our
it that
friends have this skill.
Yeah.
That most people
that's true.
are very absent of. Like you hear it all the time. Oh, I could draw. All I could draw is a stick figure.
God, I hate that.
So why doesn't Marvel make a movie about us?
Right.
Like, I want to be a superhero. I didn't think about. Wow, that's awesome, Josh. What do you think about it? I got a superpower.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. You know, I want to be a little bit more like Deadpool. You know, it's like more my
for
speed,
sure.
You know,
Yeah. Like an actual superpower.
Like a drunk Deadpool.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Smart ass.
I know me and MJ, I mean, it's the common question of like, if you would ever had a superpower, what would it be? And she asked me that question once. I don't know if I've talked about this before.
I don't know. What is it though? Yeah.
But I've said that I wish I could just absorb knowledge and be able to execute it. Like, I want to learn how to woodwork and just kind of, it's almost like the Matrix where they stick the thing in the backyard. Like, I know Kung Fu. It's like that. That's like my superpowers, the ability just to consume things and be able to do it like instantly.
Yeah,
Mr. Cool. Absorb.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Leon?
When I was a kid, my ideal superpower would be that I could make shoot a basket from anywhere on the court, you know, like eyes closed from the opposite end, and like it would always go in, and I would just
everybody class. Oh my God, that's amazing!
Yeah,
look at
I grew up to be like the most famous basketball player that ever lived.
People are like, we're all gonna die unless someone could throw this perfectly round thing into that hole over there. And you're like,
been watching too many movies.
Give it to me.
But I don't know. I'd probably go with something boring like the power of flight now or something.
Yeah,
I used to want invisibility when I was young.
Well, I was gonna say invisibility or seeing through things is pretty cool. Well,
I was like, because I grew up broke, so I was like, well, I can rob banks now. That was like an evil power.
Or I guess ultimately like traveling back in time is always good because that gives you everything. It gives you money. You can go back and figure out who won the Kentucky Derby. You can bet on it. It gives you money.
It all depends on if you affect the future, right?
Okay, now we're going to Star Trek. Okay, so now it's like I love Star Trek.
Okay,
that sounds like awesome.
So do you want the affect the future thing? That's the real question. See, because then it gets complicated. Then it's like too much work.
Well, is it affecting the future in this reality or in a parallel reality?
Oh my God, this is getting deep, you guys. I don't know.
This is super art heavy, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always think it'd be better to be able to travel into the future because then you come back and you're not affecting anything. Well, and then you get you're like, okay, I got to put stock into.
You get the flying DeLorean when you go into the future, right?
Yeah. But what if you go into the future and it's just like this post-apocalyptic wasteland? You know what I mean?
Well, then you just figure out where you just go far enough to become rich for your own life.
Well, like, wasn't that was H.G. Wells' Time Machine? That's kind of what that. I don't think I've actually read the book, but I think
like
I saw that old
restarts,
movie.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, he goes through like the future, and there's like a volcano, and he gets covered in lava, so he has to keep going so far into the future that humankind is just basically destroyed.
Okay.
Right.
And I can't remember now.
I think it like almost restarts, right?
Like
it becomes like primitive again.
Yeah, it becomes primitive.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, the books are all like turned to dust. And then, but then he goes back or something. I have to watch that again. Actually, I don't know. I'm a kind of a big book reader, so I should. And I've read some of his books. It's pretty good. I know. Read the book, then watch the show.
What about The Road by Cormac McCarthy? That's a good apocalyptic.
It is. My wife is. She's a huge. She's always. She's a English major.
Oh, okay.
So she actually has a degree.
So she's probably read a couple books too.
Yeah, she's read a few. So she always takes in all these books, and she read that, and she was so affected by that.
Oh,
book.
it's intense.
It's intense.
It is so intense.
And I'm so fragile.
Yeah.
I have to be a little careful what I read, and I know if I read that book, I'd probably go into this depressive state for a month.
Yeah,
and so unfortunately I've had to avoid that because it's so intense.
It is. I started reading it. I actually was listening to the audiobook, which is really well read and very powerful. But I was about a third of the way through the book, and I would listen to it when I worked. And I got to a point where I had all these like Vicodin because I was getting some extensive tattoo work, so I would always take Vicodin when I would get tattooed. And I got to a point I would have to take a Vicodin before I would listen to it because I would take the edge off. God. Yeah, I mean this guy, he's wandering through this post-apocalyptic world.
Like his son with him
he's
too.
With his son, and he has a gun with a very few limited number of bullets. And there's these roving bands of cannibals. Well, I'm not spoiling it, but this is just basically the premise of the book. And he has this internal monologue. He's trying to protect the innocence of his child, who has not really experienced much.
And he's constantly thinking to himself, like, if I have to pick up a rock and like bash my son's head in so that a cannibal doesn't get him, and, like, can I do it? He's all through the book. He's thinking, like, can I kill my son to keep him from falling into evil hands?
And that's the thing I understand from that it's not just it's not a horror movie. It's not like superficial. It's actually really
so real.
Amazing literature. It's written on multiple levels because I have friends who are real like master's degree in literature and stuff, and they rave about that book the way it's written. So I know this is a real serious book.
It is a real serious book. Yeah, he's a great writer.
I watched the movie and I got very upset about it.
Yeah, I heard the movie was pretty intense too.
Well, no, I hated it.
Oh, you hated it. Okay.
Well, I hated the idea of the kid being protected. Like,
I see.
The thing I was most upset about was like that kid should be a badass.
Yeah,
he shouldn't be so like it was like a helicopter parent in a post-apocalyptic setting, and you're like, stop it, teach him how to kill shit.
So you're going back to like Escape from New York kind of movies.
Well, exactly.
God, kill the guy.
Like we're talking about.
Just like to give him the right tools to survive.
Right, but you're taking it literally. I mean, I think like we were talking about with the artwork and how it exists with the juxtaposition of extremes. I mean, here you have this like heartless world, and the juxtaposition is the innocence of the child, and that's sort of where the book gets its tension.
Tension. That's a good point. Those layers, that layering. Of
I get
what's
that,
going on
but in
there.
the movie, it's a different situation. You don't get the internal dialogue.
Strip it down for the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's every time it happens. Every time I read the book. I try to read a book first and then watch the movie, and once in a while it happens in reverse, and I'll think, oh God, why did I watch that movie? I don't want to know how this turns out.
I always think it's better backwards.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Because then
you get the visuals.
First you don't complain that the movie's better than the book, so it only goes uphill. First of all,
that's true.
Low expectations.
That's a good point. You're going downhill the other way.
Second of all, when you watch the movie first, you never read the book and go, well, I imagined him differently.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's always better that way. It's always like only pluses. It's never like those are the two gripes usually. Like, I pictured this person totally different. Or they.
Yeah.
I'm doing the girl with the dragon tattoo, and now I've started the girl who played with fire. So those I haven't seen the American version with Daniel Craig yet. I saw the Swedish versions of those, and this has been back when they first put them out. So I watched them and I thought, these are so amazing. So I actually had to wait however many years this is to forget how they turned out. Yeah. And as I'm reading through them, I don't remember how they turned out. I'm only remembering as I go. Right. So that was actually a pretty good combination. But I had to wait 8 years. And everybody's read these books, So
you just have the bad memory like me.
I have a terrible. I know. Well, I'm old.
Like I'll watch a movie this week, and then like 2 weeks from now, I'm like, what's that movie about?
Isn't that the best though? Because you can just watch it again. You're excited about it. Yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah.
I've seen movies like I haven't seen for like 10 years, and someone's like, "Oh, have you seen this movie?" I'm like, "No." So I'll start watching it. I'm like, "Okay." And then like midway, I'm like, "Okay, wait, I have seen this movie. Now I remember everything."
MJ's like, "Man, you've seen this movie." Really?
Yeah.
No, you don't know how this turns out. No, don't. Okay, just live in your own little world there, Josh.
But then halfway, it's weird. It's like it took half the movie
to remember.
For me to remember. It's like once it starts getting interesting, I think all that like build up, boring plot shit that you're like is so predictable. You're just like all that's like all right. Then when it's like, oh, this is interesting. Oh wait, yep. Now I know how it ends. Okay.
So do you just get up and walk away at that point?
Yeah. Then I shut it off and I'm like, we're done here. Everyone else is like, but we're watching.
MJ's like, man, I'm still watching this.
And it's like, and I said, we're done here.
When I stop, everyone stops.
Control freak. Back to the control freak, right? It's like, in control of this.
Exactly. And then we just sit on the couch in silence for hours.
Awkward silence.
Yeah. We're like, how long was that movie?
Right.
All right, let's sit here.
And then MJ's like, are you okay, Josh? You're like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. Don't touch my paintings. And give me my beer and Cantaloupe.
Make it a Tuscan.
I think that's going to have to be the title of this episode. Something about that damn cantaloupe.
Beers and cantaloupes.
That's what I asked you, I think, before we started recording, is like, how do you come up with the titles for all these? Because they're kind of cool, So I'm reading through all the, I'm the idiot. probably the only person that listens to your podcast on Spotify. So, you guys are always asking
you're our one listener on Spotify.
I'm the one. I'm
Okay.
that one that can't give you a review because Spotify doesn't have fucking reviews.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get on iTunes and give you guys a review. But I did see that. What was that review, Sergio? He got, was that awkward?
Oh, that one's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like
That
3
was
stars.
3-star.
The guy gave you 3 stars.
3-star awkward, right?
Yeah, but the title of it was like has potential was the title.
Oh, that's
of the
right.
review.
Has
So it
potential.
was,
Yeah.
it was positive. But then he goes on to be like, these guys are like,
Yeah.
I was making fun of you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. That's what makes it
And
so
then
fun. It's just
my
just
biggest gripe was they were like the host
The
or
host.
sometime equally as awkward. I'm like, how?
oh yeah, you're all
How dare you?
Like, you can say I say and but if I'm as equally awkward as Sergio, the
it's
fucking world has flipped
It's
over.
done.
Yeah.
It's what's the upside down?
Yeah, we're in a post-apocalyptic thing, and I'm guarding Sergio to make sure his innocence doesn't fade. Like that's the world we're living in.
I like that. You guys should do that, like a spoof of the road.
You should.
Yeah, and Sergio could be your little boy. You can
He's perfect.
yeah, you can like open a soda can for him, and it'll be like,
But then
it has bubbles.
the issue is like these cannibals are coming. I'm like, you know what?
Should I kill him?
Sergio does
Should I
kind of
smash
look
his head in?
delicious. Like I could. You guys want to share him? We'll eat. I'm like, look at the.
Could I smash his skull with the rock?
He looks
Yeah, probably.
tender.
I had no idea. I was like, I'm, thinking of those little things we're going to talk about. I was like, I had no idea this was going to end up here. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're talking about smashing Sergio's head in.
Yeah, and eating him.
And eating him.
I guess
man.
my next question is, what part do you eat of Sergio's first?
Boy, dead silence.
I mean, for sure, cheeks, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the cheeks would be good.
both all 4 cheeks. That's what I'm talking about.
it's,
And is it a slow roast or like a deep fry? Or, I don't know.
it's like maybe, like a pig, put like dig a big hole and put him down in a pit.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
cook the whole thing.
Tongans call that umu.
Umu?
Yeah, it's like I think it's the same word they use for like when you bury someone.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there's some symbolism there, isn't there?
They also used to eat people, so who knows?
Oh,
Right?
there's that.
Yeah. Well, not all the people, just like
Just some.
the royalty would eat, the royal
So it was
family would eat people.
What's the word? It was symbolistic. It was tradition.
Yeah.
There's another word I'm looking for, but it's not coming to me right now. It's we know it in our head. We just can't say it.
Yeah, it's probably super deep.
People that are listening to this are
Perfect
saying
word.
the word. Say it. We know the word. You idiots.
Ceremonial.
Oh God, you got it.
Boom.
Took me a while.
Leon got it.
Thanks.
I was getting-
Ceremonial. Yep.
Yeah.
God,
I had to dig for a while for that word. Wait, I'll get it.
But
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, they used to eat. The king used to eat people.
Wow.
Okay.
It's weird. And he used to like pick up. I guess it was mostly children too, which is dark
Really?
as fuck.
That is dark.
Yeah.
Tinder.
I think did the person that wrote the movie Road or the book Road, did he
Maybe he
go
went
to
to Tonga.
At some point? But yeah, there's some weird stories about like women. Like there's, I don't know if it's because we then taught Samoans to be cannibals.
Really? That's the way it
Yeah,
went?
I believe
So
so.
you're the original evil there.
Yeah.
You're spreading it, man.
But there's like a family, I think in Samoa, might be one of the other islands, but there's like a shark and a turtle story about a white shark and a turtle.
Really?
It's about like a mother who the king decided to eat her child, so she took her son and went into the ocean and never was seen again. And there's this shark and this turtle that appeared in the cliffside of this house where she lived. And like I guess there's like this family that lives there still, and they'll sing a song, and you'll see like a shark and a turtle come up to the shore or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how true it is, but
Well, that makes for good stories.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Truth is not that important.
No,
Not
especially if
these
you're an
discussions.
artist.
Never let the truth get in the way, or never
Yeah.
never let the story. How does that go?
Truth get in the way of a good story.
Good story. That's
Yeah.
it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Leon.
Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Anytime you need anything, just ask me.
Yeah, that goes back to Monty. He's the best storyteller.
Oh,
He was
man.
great, wasn't he?
Yeah. His stories
I was
are the best.
riveted to
And
his stories.
sometimes
Well,
the story's not, I mean, it's not a lie, but it's like if I
like a
told the
little white
story,
lie.
I would say like, oh yeah, we almost got in a fight the other day. And Monty will say like,
Yeah.
man, and they were doing this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's all true, but like, didn't feel that way to me.
Yeah. Monty does have a lot of crazy stories. I mean, I think you have to live life full tilt the way he does to really accumulate that many great stories.
But there's even a story Monty will tell about a fly that's on him while he's drying and he'll flick it off. And it's like, to me, that's not a story.
Yeah.
That's like, ugh.
Oh, I always, it's like, I don't know, we're visual. Well, he's a visual painter too, but I always wish I could tell stories like that. Embellish on him and making people like, what happened next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's just the way he tells it.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's the way you tell it.
I think it comes from, his family, his grandfather can spin a yarn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Spin a yarn. That's the term, spin a yarn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
But he also can tell a good story.
Yeah, he can do that too. He's a great knitter, but
yeah, you should see his sweaters for sure.
Yeah, and of course, his mom is quite the outgoing personality.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that
I think
makes
it runs
sense.
in his family a little bit, but
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Guy's a big listener.
Yeah, Guy is.
Shout out to
he's
Guy.
the silent listener for sure.
Yeah,
Guy's the best.
That's Monty's dad.
Oh, that's his dad. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I wish I had that skill. At the same time, I obsessed with like storylines in my artwork. I don't know if your stuff is ever narrative.
No, not so much. And every time I've ever tried that, I've in the past I've have this idea, this story, and I'll play it up in my head. I'll see it. I'll hire the model. I'll set it all up, and maybe even draw it out a little bit and get it kind of in a visual state. And I was like, no, that's too illustrative. It's like, and just tank it. No, I'm not going to do it. And it never worked out. I've never, and I think maybe later I figured out it's just too narrative.
Right.
It was too in your face. So I'm not, I'm not so good at the subtleties. So I've just kind of gone reverse a little bit and gotten a little bit better at keeping the mystery. Trying to
implied story.
Right. And I think that's why those never, looking back in hindsight, it's like that's why those never worked out.
Right.
I'm not that kind of storyteller. I don't want to be that kind of storyteller.
Yeah.
And I think you realize that when you're looking at work, you don't want to be told the whole story.
Right.
Although like Norman Rockwell, that's different.
Right.
I love his work. It's awesome. But that's not what I was after.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at work, and I like that little bit of mystery. You look at it, it's like, what the hell's all that about?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think this goes back to teaching yourself. Like I was so narrative driven to the point where I was just literally just trying to say from start to finish a story where I've allowed myself that shitty art to the point where I just slowly pulled back, where I think I'm decent at it now, where I'm like, I'm getting good at like this subtleties of it, telling the story without forfeiting it.
Right.
Because I know Sergio's talked about how that tackiness kind of like storytelling, sometimes it can be so tacky where it almost stopped him from going that path, where for me it's like if I probably was went to school for that, they probably would pulled me away from that way quicker than me just slowly drawing back and trying to make certain things tell a story where it really, you would have to ask me why I made that decision.
What is that? What's going on there?
I think it's okay to be a little cliche or kitschy with your storytelling. I mean, as long as you're conscious that that's an ingredient you're cooking with, I mean, you don't want to lay it on too thin, but you can have elements or hints of that sort of obvious cliche element or whatever,
Yeah. And it goes back to like, like cliches having value.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because
they're a cliche
overdone.
for a reason, right?
Exactly. So we should probably talk about your art.
Oh yeah, there is that segment.
Yeah, can we take a quick pee break? Okay.
Is that Don Quixote is your image? The sculpture?
Oh, that is it's a Carpo.
Okay.
The sculptor's name was Carpo.
Okay.
He's like one of the most famous sculptors of all time.
Nice.
Yeah, I looked him up. Someone was, I don't know if we were, on Waiting to Dry's page, we were talking about that. And
it came up somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I looked him up. I was like, holy fuck.
Oh my God. I can't think of his Jean-Baptiste Carpo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he is amazing. And I saw that I've been using that icon or badge or whatever for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, there for a while I was trying to grow actually a handlebar mustache, but mine looked like shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Some call him the Jackson Pollock of sculpting.
Oh no! Oh my God!
He just splatters.
Stop right there.
He splatters rock on.
Rock.
He just throws rock
He
on.
throws marble. It makes it stick. Kind of. It's true, actually.
All right, so we're back. We took a quick pee.
Got a new beer.
This is my second beer break. Beer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't think that's true. But.
Whatever.
This is my second Bud Light. I mean.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right before we're going to break, we were talking about it's look at your painting and talk about it time.
I get to talk about myself more.
So we brought up two paintings. They're two of your most recent paintings, I believe you painted, and I liked both of them. I also liked how both of them are kind of they play around with the skin tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
one is much more warmer, one's much more colder, and like the blanket they're laying on are almost matching that.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
Huh.
Yeah, they were painted around the same. I mean, these were ones I worked on in June. So one of them,
isn't there like a way you can
to put them side by side?
There's like a
There
way
you
you
go.
can
That's
automatically do it.
Wait, so you said you didn't think about that? Is that for real? Like,
I haven't seen. They're sitting in my. I almost brought them with me. I really, we could have put them up. I guess it doesn't matter. But I painted them about the same time, and I didn't really think of them as like what Josh just said, like
comparing
a comparison.
I see.
Like a complementary almost
one to the other. But you did think about them in relationship to the color of the blankets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you decided this blanket is I mean, even the red is kind of a cold red though.
Yeah.
But the skin tone is much more warmer the painting in general is much more warmer when you compare it to the color scheme, at least. I mean, they both look like a warm day. I mean, they both are. Let me check this one. Is this one indoors? This one's indoors.
Actually, that one is she's north lit, so that's called the Lure of Light, and it's that's inside my studio, kind of a north light, and and I think that's one of the things I get asked that a lot from students is like, I love your flesh tone. How do you paint flesh tones?
Right.
And that's been its own journey. That's been its own 20-year journey of learning flesh tones. Right back from, I remember mixing, or using pre-mixed. It's not like a single tube of flesh tone, but John Howard Sand and flesh tone mix. Trying to figure it out 20 years ago, and then. These stepping stones to figuring a flesh tone. So I've really focused on that a lot throughout the years. It's a wonderful. I mean, just to work flesh tone and keep learning. It's a never ending pursuit of of like enjoyment of just like God, flesh tone's amazing.
Yeah.
So this working with that model now. These are from. This is actually just from a photo reference.
Right.
And so, this is inside my studio, and that Lure of Light, as I was painting that along, and a little insight on the painting, and even though it's kind of north lit, her skin's a little cool. The whole painting, that, like you said, that red's kind of cool. I just felt that painting lacked something, and I painted it after that other one with all the blue, and it just seemed so flat. And I was sitting there in my studio, and I had my curtains open. And this light was streaming through my studio. And it's like, hey, how would that look in that painting? It's like one of those aha moments.
Right.
So I kind of made that up a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
At first, and it's like, I think that looks pretty good, but I kept doubting myself. It's like, I don't know. But, what would that light do, if it were in that situation? So I had my oldest daughter come up at one point, draped, of course, and I had her sit down in that light and actually, pose that. And it was like, I tweaked a few things. I changed it.
It's so smart the way you masked it out, because you have it crossing the figure down by the knee where you can't, it's kind of obscured by the foreground figure. And so it sort of allows you to put it in there without really having to articulate it over the surface of her flesh.
One of the first things I thought too about when I saw this, I was like, holy shit, how do you get that beam of light through there without like, I assumed you were working off photographs. So I was like, how do you get that beam of light through there and photograph that? Because that would have been a bitch.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because with photography, I mean, that's one of the things, like, as we know, it can't see what the naked eye can see.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been either blown out or, everything would have been so dark. So coming back in.
Usually I will take 2 pictures of that just to get the light and then get the detail of the.
Yep.
So I was like, I wonder how he did that.
Yeah. So that was, that was like in my list of things to talk about. That's like one of those things where, like it's like I overthink everything. I was like, oh my God. But that was one of those times where, and it was just not desperation, but it was just like, this painting needs something. What is it?
Yeah.
And I might be stretching the truth just a little bit, but it's like I look down, I was like, oh, that light's what it needs,
Oh, that light is key.
Just naturally, just out. I think we all have that kind of like design in us, and I just put it there. And I was like, would it look good there?
Yeah.
It's kind of always a question. Would it look good there? And you throw it in. That's what I love about oil paint. When in years when I first started painting, my mom was an oil painter actually. So I was around that growing up, but I'm just segueing really quick. But I was like, I didn't want to be an oil painter because she was an oil painter. So I tried watercolor. Oh my God! Anybody out there who paints watercolor, my hat is off to you because oh my God, you got 1 or 2 shots to get it right.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so,
also, what did your parents do to you? How bad did they beat you?
He's like,
terrible.
I don't want to be like my mom. She's an oil painter.
I know. That sounded bad. But, as a young...
but watercolors...
my 20s, it's like, you want to do something, you want to branch out on your own and do your own thing. Mom, you're an oil painter. I'm going to be...
I don't mean you. I mean watercolor painters. Like, what did their parents do to them? Because they obviously hate themselves.
Yeah, it's like, it's torture. But, when you see a watercolor that's done right, it's just like, my, how did you do that?
Yeah, I agree.
So, but that's one, I like about oil, so that, I'm working on that. It was dry. I think actually at this point, I don't remember. I may have been reworking some parts like, hey, what if I did this, you know? And if I didn't like it, you scrape it out, you put it in a different spot. I love the flexibility of oil paint.
Yeah. I also love like, a lot of the time I'll use like, a muted palette or whatever. So, but then I always like at the very end to be like, where can I stick some random white?
Oh, see, it's like you're asking those questions.
Yeah,
you're kind of going beyond. Like even your reference or something. You're just asking what would happen if I, there was a certain point. I haven't done it for a long time using digital art. So I'm not really a digital artist, but I have dabbled in it on my iPad that I've now given to my daughter. And I was using a program called, it just escaped me, not Procreate. Everybody's using that now. It's Art Rage.
Okay.
And Art Rage is surprisingly like oil painting because you can work with thicknesses and stuff. And the friend who kind of got me engaged in that, he said, what I like about digital art is it's what if. Because you can, if you're painting an oil painting or, even a watercolor,
right,
and you don't want to ruin it. So, you're asking this what if, but you don't dare because you don't want to ruin the art. With digital art, you have undo, and you have undo, and or you can do a new layer. And so it gives you that boldness to say, screw it. What if? And you throw it in, you don't like it, you just take it out.
Right.
So that's really bold of you. That's like, I think that's what you need to do. You're like, you got this painting in front of you. It's become a little precious,
right? And
you're toward the end, and you ask, "What if?" That is bold. That's what we need to do.
At the end of a painting, for me, I can literally throw it in the fire.
Well, yeah, like you said that earlier. I think that's awesome.
And the question of, I mean, for me is especially for white. It always seems to tend like to the darkest ranges, like so white or black. Values. And I'm like, where can I put it that might add to, or at least force people to look in this area or something like that? And it can literally be like me just flicking white in the corner.
Kind of going with your intuition
and
a little bit.
It just forces you to look that direction. And it's the simplest little like magic trick of like, look here. And because like for instance, for this painting, it forces you to take your, because for me, the highlight on the shoulder just instantly draws my eye to that. And then the light forces me to look upwards. You know,
Are
and
you talking about in the pink painting?
yeah. So that highlight, like right there on the shoulder, like instantly, my eye gets drawn to that, and I go, like, "Oh, that looks fun."
I really like the triangular muscular area above the butt crack. That's a really nice area.
Yeah, that's sacrum.
Leon.
Yeah, we know you. You know what you like now, Leon.
Yeah.
But yeah,
she's that that model worked with. We worked.
Yeah, that is a good detail, by the way. Sorry.
Tons of life work with her. Tons of photography work with her. She's a great model. I've got lots of. I've got paintings I've done of her and more to do of her. She's a great.
That's awesome.
We got along really well, and she enjoyed modeling and stuff. So
that's always great.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the thing I really admire about this painting, and it's this, I find the same thing in Josh's paintings too, is that when you guys are rendering flesh, there's so many different subtle nuances and color variations across the body. I mean, the color that's in the feet evolved into the color in the ankles and then up into the thighs, obviously. I mean, if you could go into Photoshop and color sample anywhere on there, you're just going to be all over the map.
Yeah.
And that's, everyone's different. It's like, I think she was probably out in the sun a little bit, so she's getting pigmentation in her shoulders. Right. And
I love that.
But we have natural, and we're all a little different. We have natural parts of our body that tend to go more of a ruddy or ochre color, and then like the buttocks and the legs tend to maybe be a little more of a cool violets and reds and cool reds and stuff. And the more you get looking at that, the more it's just so fascinating. Yeah. Like, oh my God, that's beautiful. Yeah, like the reds and pinks in the feet. Is that a warm red or a cool red or orange, I should say, or maybe, but oh my God, that's awesome.
I know. We went to the river with Leon a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
And there was this skinny, lanky guy in the river, and he was maybe hip up from the river, shirtless, and he's very skinny, and his skin was so pale, but like he had like this farmer's
tan. Hey, that's me.
Yeah.
I took my shirt off right now,
and
which
it was
would be gross.
So extreme.
It was like total farmer's tan,
But it was so extreme. Like you can just tell, like he works in the sun a lot. Yeah. And I was like, and I told MJ, I was like, oh my God, I want to photograph that guy.
That's that feeling you get. It's like, oh my God.
That'd be fun to paint.
In Utah, we have a museum called it's the Springville Art Museum, and it's really kind of a small little town. It's not Salt Lake or anything. But the director, Vern Swanson, he's since retired now, but he got all these associations with collectors and was going back to Russia collecting social realism.
Okay.
And they've got the largest, I'm going to butcher, it's like, I don't know how true this is, but like the second largest collection of Russian social realism outside Russia. Second.
Just keep like
10. Go down in case I error.
Yeah.
Like
the 56th largest.
I think it's maybe it's 51st. No, but it's huge and it's this awesome work. But you go down there and see stuff just like that. And there's amazing. A couple paintings of like these they're I don't know if they're military guys and they're on break and they've taken all their clothes off and they're out playing in the water. It's just what you said, Josh. And you can see, they're like pasty white where their skin was, and then there's this farmer tan.
Yeah.
And I have stared at that painting for hours looking at that. Yeah. And it's that Russian, the way Russians paint. Oh,
yeah, God, really shitty.
I was going somewhere else with that,
I read you wrong.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're gorgeous. Just these paintings that just want to make you just like, oh, I gotta paint like that. Yeah, That's so gorgeous.
Yeah. It's offensive to a point. Yeah. I love that when you see art and you're like, how dare you?
Yeah, the wedding party painting. That painting is so fucking unbelievable. That's here in San Francisco.
In the Legion of Honor.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's one
painting
is like, how many hours have you spent?
Unbelievable.
How did you squeeze all that detail into that tiny little canvas?
Yeah.
They're amazing artists. Oh my God. So yeah, we've got, we don't have that painting, but we've got, if you ever guys get down there, I'll take you down to the Springville Museum.
Absolutely.
And just blow your mind when you see some of this work. They've got so much work it's constantly on tour around the world. They're sending pieces out. So you never know quite what you're going to see when you're down there. Anyway. So that's awesome. That's just what you like that flesh tone.
Well, like in this one, the model is laying on a cool sort of turquoise colored blanket.
Yeah. And this one's called The Ocean Beckons, which is a dope name, by the way.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that cool coloration in her flesh, which is interesting because, I mean, you have to be, I'm sure, be careful playing with that because that sort of denotes a certain morbidity if you
death.
overdo it.
Yeah, and I can tell you enough. I've been painting paintings along that because that's intriguing. It's like when you first start painting flesh, you kind of got to paint the warm, But then the more you work, you start getting intrigued by these cools. And I can't tell you how many times I've been painting something. It's like, yep, that's dead. Scrape that down and get rid of that. So,
what do you think that is? I noticed that if you use like this, if artists use like a green, like the green is what makes things look dead. You can get away with a lot of blues, but the second you start mixing like I don't know how to, like an olive greenish kind of color.
That's part of it. It goes back to
then all of a sudden,
that decay color.
Yeah. There's this weird paleness people that are dead have.
Yeah.
It's unnatural. Yeah. And when you start painting that way,
like,
I mean, I never
Eakin's
knew
painting,
but that's cool though.
Yeah, and I think, when you're painting something like that, that little bit of dappling where that warm light comes in, it just suddenly makes all those cool tones just come to life.
Yeah.
On this one, another moment where the light is like peeking through what looks to be trees, I'm assuming she's laying under.
Yep.
That, again, the photography behind that, was that tricky?
I should tell you this story how I used like 13 different photographs and light and everything, but you know what? That was one shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I know. I've got.
I thought you were going to give me something good.
I can tell you a fun story about the shoot though, if you want. I mean, it's not specifically the painting. So she's a great model. She's actually moved to Portland or Seattle now, so she's not in Salt Lake any longer. But
how dare she?
I know. She's from Salt Lake.
Did she even consider your art career?
She should have.
For sure. Okay. Well.
But my backyard, we live in a nice wooded green part of Salt Lake, but for some stupid reason, my backyard's not very private. So the neighbors can see into every inch of my backyard. There's part of the street that can see into my backyard. So it's anything but private. I mean, I don't have construction going on outside my house like you do. But I was like, hey, Haley, the sun, it was just a great day. Says, would you mind going out in the backyard and shooting? And I says, it's not private. She says, I don't care. So we went out and full view of anybody who cared to see what was going on out there. And I was sweating bullets. It was like, oh God, any minute someone's going to call the cops. I'm going to have the cops showing up, knocking on my front door. It's like, let's take you down to the jailhouse.
And they're going to be.
This is Utah. This is not California.
They're going to be like, where'd you get all these cantaloupes from?
Nice. I love when the segue comes back to the central theme. But she did. We did a great, just a photo shoot out in my backyard. And like I said, I paint from life a lot, but that's like an image that you got to have the photo. It's just it's a moment in time when she's doing this thing she calls micro modeling. So she did all the work, and her and the camera did all the work. And I could have gone and had a coffee inside and let those, the camera and her do all the work. I'm just pushing the shutter button.
Right.
And she's just this incredible model that can pull this emotion
don't you
out of her
that?
pose. When you run across that, don't keep, hold on to it because, that's kind of what I'm really trying to get into my work right now currently is emotion, a feel of something in there other than just a placid figure sitting, which is fine. That's fine too. But I'm shooting for something a little bit more, just that mystery, like what's going on.
Yeah.
The title came to me, obviously it's got all that turquoise color in there. And so I'm thinking the ocean and what she's kind of doing there is just, it just snapped. It worked.
Yeah. I had this conversation. We just did a couple of shoots in LA I don't know how many weeks ago, a week or two ago. And I have this issue with directing models.
I've heard you talk about Sergio about that before. Yeah,
I want them to do something, and it's in my head, and it's hard for me to explain.
Yes.
And so this model we've used her before, and so
was this you and MJ? Or?
Yeah, and so I was telling her the concept for the painting. And then kind of let her go, and she just killed it. And I was like, fuck yes.
That's when it worked. I'm exactly the same as you. It's like you have this idea, and you sketched it out, or you have something, and you kind of tell the model to do this, and it's like, oh, that's not quite, and then you just like, you know what, just do your thing, kind of know what I'm after, but I want you to do what you do. And it's like, oh God, that's that's you don't want to copy.
Exactly.
Maybe it's a collaboration of you and this model.
Yeah. Just like if someone was commissioning a painting from you, you would rather them give you a general guideline than micromanage.
Which as artists, I don't know if you guys do commissions.
Occasionally, I do sometimes.
So most that's probably good because you can run the gamut on a commission where I've had a commission where they're just like, you know what, and one of the best ones, like, we want a nude. We just don't want you to show too much. We're going to hang it up and people are going to see it. We don't care.
Right.
And to the point where I had, a commission where it's just like I was micromanaged with like literally every brush stroke was under observation. And it's just like, it's so arduous.
Oh, it's painful.
Oh, it's painful.
I have a little letter I send off to people who are inquiring about commissions now.
That's a good idea.
I let them know just right off the bat, hey, look, this is the way I work. I don't like to be micromanaged. If you want to give me a general direction and allow me freedom within that.
It's like if you're looking at me to do a commission, you like my work, right?
Look at my portfolio.
Look at my portfolio. If you want this to be, go get a photograph of this, but if you're asking for my filters and you're seeing what I'm doing, allow me to do that, please.
Exactly.
And you'll get the best work from me if you don't micromanage me.
For sure. Yeah. And so the same with your models.
Yeah, it's the same with the models. Don't micromanage them. Just give them a little guidance.
Right.
And if I work with models who travel. Sergio, I think that's the thing Sergio and I have in common. We work with a few of the same models, and some of them are traveling, and you just look for, I'm going to be in your area, hire them and stuff. And they're usually real professional, and you really do need to just like show them. It's like, this is kind of what I'm looking for, and you're in control of the light and the scene around them. And just let them do their thing.
Yeah, that's a realization I just had, because the model I was just working with, she did such great things, and I was fuck. And then we went and had like dinner, because she's like a friend as well, so we went and had dinner with her and like hung out.
That's the best way to.
I've been having trouble, but like you did so good, and she's like, just like give us the subtleties because even like there was like a moment where I was like, I want you to be in pain, but like wear it like you're in like a rock in a shoe, like you're in pain but you're living with it.
You own it.
And then she like subtly rather than so dramatically over the top emotion, she just subtly, like, you're just living with pain. That's what and then she did so good, and I was like, damn,
hey, those are kind of some of the themes I'm working with too. It's like again, we've got this vibe going. It's like, really, that's kind of where I'm shooting for too.
That's awesome. I mean, I also do happy things, but
go back to that thing, like I think we talked about selling art and art gallery stuff. You kind of the close clients, they like the happy.
Yeah. Right.
It's like you got to have a little smile. It's got to be happy, but you want to paint the darker things, don't you? You want to find like the things that are inside you and paint a little, not narrative necessarily, but you tell a little bit of a hidden story. Yeah, and that pain. That's like a human condition. Yeah. We all have that, so you're connecting with that, and you got to go with that. And that's kind of where I am right now. It's like, I kind of want to show that separation, that pain, that, we all have that little bit of darkness in us and a little bit. It's like, God, let me show that. And, please, can I sell some of those? Right. It's like, I really, it's like I need some money too, but I want to paint these things now.
I mean, even for instance, the like living with pain thing, it's like,
that's great.
For me, the idea was that you live, like, it's an empowering thing, right? It's like you live through this and it leaves an effect, but the effect isn't a negative. Yeah, exactly. It's like the resilience past it is the expression, but I don't even know how you explain that to some people. You're like, I want you to live with pain, but you're past it, but it made you stronger.
Remember,
all these things, and you're like,
that which does not kill you makes you stronger.
That's right.
Yeah,
and no Arnold Schwarzenegger did not come up with that saying.
That was
this guy named Friedrich Nietzsche.
I was gonna say that's a Nietzsche, isn't it?
I was gonna
say you saved me again, Leon. I'm glad we hired you. Oh wait, we didn't hire you.
I believe it's pronounced.
Yeah,
I believe it's pronounced Nike.
Nike. Oh, Nike.
Wonderful shoes, great construction, very comfortable.
I've been saying it wrong my whole life. I'm an idiot.
Well, that's what I'm here for. But yeah, I think we've wrapped up the episode.
25 hours of shooting. People are like, "Oh my God, would you guys just shut up already?"
I think we helped some people probably.
This has been good. You
And
know,
if
it's
not, whatever. That's not why you listen to us, anyways.
yeah, no, it's just it's fun. It's
Yeah,
just
I
let
think
it go.
so.
You know, let it ride.
Yeah. One of the things I want to say is that I'm always surprised by the talent that listens to our show.
Yeah,
So I'm always like, damn, there's some good artists listening
Yeah.
in. And it like amazes me every time. Every time anyone's like, oh, great episode, I'll like click on their thing and look at their artwork. And I'm like, fuck,
Hey.
you are good.
well, you guys are doing. I think when Sergio first told me about it, I mean, you didn't have very many. It was pretty low following.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are coming up really fast.
Yeah.
Well, we're building a snowball.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know?
best way to do it. Organic, you
yeah.
know, people who want to listen to it.
Yeah, and it's one of the funnest things.
I was, trying to
me.
throw it out. I just was so engaged by those first, and yours
Yeah.
was one of them. I listened
Thank
to
you.
Leon's.
Thank you.
And, I threw it out there a few times. Advertising kind of get it out there.
Yeah,
and then,
thank you
And
for
then
that.
I didn't mean to fall off on that. I just got kind of
No,
busy.
don't worry about it. We appreciate
now
everything.
that I'm on there. Get
Yeah.
back on trying to re-advertise it for everybody
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
like, go listen to this. This
Yeah.
is really cool. It's unique.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool because if you were doing a podcast about lawyers or something, I mean, lawyers are all busy doing their law all day.
Not all of
But
us.
artists are sitting there. Oh yeah, sorry,
He's a
maybe lawyer isn't the right word. Olympic athletes. Anyways, I mean, you're catering to a group of people who spend
Yeah.
a lot of time alone listening to audio.
Yeah.
So
you just, I think you hit the nail on the head. Alone.
Yeah.
And that's what, I think listening to things like this makes you feel not so damn alone.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I just didn't expect it. As far as the talent pool, I was like, God damn, our listeners are fucking talented.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Instagram, you have like 1 million people pursuing art or whatever. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the greatest stuff when you try to like say like just try to focus on this or that.
Yeah.
But like for our listeners, I really think a lot of them are extremely talented people. I'm like, wow, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And you being one of them. So it was really
Thanks, Josh.
great to have you on. If anyone wants to find your stuff, it's
I'm out there.
BC Liston.
Could you be
Yeah,
more
so that's-
specific?
And,
So yeah, BC Liston. My name I'm Bryce.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know what my mom and dad were thinking when they named me. It's like
Yeah,
Bryce Liston. It just my first name and my last name just run together. It's like I mean, my friends make fun of me. Is my name Bryce Liston? You know?
Right, yeah.
So I throw my middle name is Cameron, and but when I throw like Bryce Cameron Liston in there, it makes me sound like this pretentious prick.
yeah, pretentious
It's
con.
like, I got
Yeah.
3 names, I was like, ooh, that's fancy. But I only do it, because it sounds better together.
No.
Bryce Cameron Liston. So I just, BC Liston is.
Well,
that's
you,
just
you
my
have to
first
hold
name,
you have to hold your pinky out when you
I do,
say it.
and
That's
I do
the trick.
when I drink.
Yeah.
Did you see me when I drinking that beer? My
yeah.
pinky was out,
Very-
right?
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah.
forgot to do
God,
that.
people in Utah are so sophisticated.
So
Yeah,
sophisticated.
it's
You have-
incredible.
You have no idea. We,
Yeah.
our cantaloupes though are pretty basic.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we got to work
Shitty
on that. a little
They're
bit.
not. They're not
Shitty
Italian.
try.
They're French. over
Oh
there.
God.
They have berets on the cantaloupes.
See, now if I were listening to this episode, that would make me laugh. Like, God, they brought Cantaloupe back one more time. This is like a Monty
back.
Python episode, It's like, you say it 3 times, it's okay. 4 times, it's getting a little
Yeah.
funnier. But when you bring
Yeah.
it 6, 7, 8 times,
Yeah.
you're laughing.
It's when you
funny.
get past the point where it's like it's too many
Ridiculous.
times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
it
you
becomes
push
funny.
it
Yeah.
past there.
And
It's like,
you know,
did you ever see the Family Guy where they did that "bird is the word" bit?
oh my
don't
God,
think so.
yes.
Oh, that's you
Yes.
got to check that out. It's just that, just what
It's
you just expressed.
It's that is the Family Guy. It's like what Monty Python did in cartoon style. It's like take it way too far
Yeah.
until it becomes funny.
it becomes hilarious.
That's what
yeah.
I-
Ooh, a piece of candy.
I talked
Ooh, a
about
piece
that.
of candy.
The
it's just
killing
like-
of a sacred deer. I don't know if any of
Oh,
you guys watched
yes,
it.
you brought that back. So
But-
you
I
had
don't
me
know
at
if I
one
saw that.
point. You had me when you brought that first up on the episode. I was like, oh no, well, maybe I should watch that. And I watched the trailers. Oh, I got to tell you too. Let's see. Oh God, now I'm going away off. You mentioned a bunch of weird movies on that episode.
How about Gregory Go
That's
Boom?
it.
Did
That's
you see
it.
that?
That's
that
it.
was
So I went and
good.
watched that.
That
I
was
was like,
so good.
I actually met that was actually kind of funny, and I liked it.
It
Like,
was. I
way to
thought
go,
so, too.
Josh.
It
That
was
was
dark
actually
and
pretty
hilarious.
funny.
Yeah.
But then the killing of sacred deer is like, okay, so I liked Gregory Go Boom,
Uh-huh.
and so I watched the previews on Killing a Sacred Deer, and I was like, I don't know, know, Josh. Maybe I'm gonna.
It's just what you're saying. They push it so far. Every time you're like, this can't get darker. It gets darker, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's hilarious!" So, did you ever watch it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I highly suggest.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a try. It's obviously in layers. You know, you got to get down those deeper layers, right?
It's a weird comedy where you're laughing at the darkish. It's almost like it can't get darker in the most ridiculous way. And you're like, well, they just figured it out.
Okay, sounds good.
But I got to see it.
I'm happy you guys like Gregor Go Boom. That was
that was funny. I like the ending.
People hate it. They're like,
I think it's so good.
I get so many times I've shown it to people and they're like, what the fuck did you make me watch? And I'm like, comedy genius?
Well,
that's what it's called.
This old movie with Howard Hessman. I forgot. I shouldn't have brought it up. I can't remember the name.
Blazing Saddles?
No, but I like that too. That's I shouldn't even brought it up. It's you guys are on the audience are saying it's so and so. It's two people's names and Howard Hessman and the cat dies. It's filmed in Utah and it's a dark comedy. It's really dark and funny, but it's kind of like it had a similar sense of humor as that. And maybe later I'll type in when I get home. I was like, that's the name of that movie.
Yeah.
It's
let me know. I'll watch
people's
it.
names.
Sure.
You would like it. You would like it. It's like late 1990s and stuff. It's just awkward, weird, dark comedy. And that was one of Howard Hessman's good roles.
Yeah.
So
Dumb and Dumber.
So thank you, Leon, for doing this. Your website, by the way, is probably just Google Bryce Liston, and we'll share everything on our social media so people listening will be able to find it. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you,
thanks, Josh.
Leon, for co-hosting.
Thank you.
Because Sergio's just out there.
I was gonna say, last words, Sergio. Suck it.
Yeah, finding himself in parentheses. The last time I checked, I think he's on he's hula hooping the world records, and I think he's at 45,000 right now. So, so good luck to him on that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, I'm impressed now.
But yeah, and if you are still listening,
my favorite. You want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wow! Oh my God! It's
wow!
I am so honored. You know how long I have loved it. I've been your biggest fan. It's like that's the best sign off ever.
Hell yeah!
It's like, all right, you guys ready?
All right,
do it.
All right, fuck off.
Boom.
There it is.